This guy's name is Ji-hun. Ji-hun comes from a secret special forces unit under South Korea's 6th Army Command. He has an unpredictable hot temper. He accidentally severely injured his captain and was sent straight back home. But now Ji-hun has made a spectacular return, with a new identity as a guard at Jokshan prison. Just then, a bald inmate suddenly shouted, "Where is the prison warden? You dare throw me in a place like this? Drag that warden here right now, you damn scumbags." The bald inmate held a hostage tightly, with 3 or 4 scattered food trays at his feet. Ji-hun coldly approached with a menacing look. "What's all this noise? You have 3 seconds to disperse." The surrounding inmates immediately turned and fled in fear, seeing Ji-hun approach the bald man. The inmate felt no pressure from Ji-hun and just yelled, "Damn it, why'd you call this lackey bring the warden here?" He glared as he pulled the man's hair back, the sharp knife at his neck bringing the hostage to tears. "Do you want to watch this bastard's head fly?" Ji-hun said nothing and drew the baton at his side. He aimed straight for the aggressive bald inmate. Then he threw the baton hard at the man's jaw, knocking him backwards. The bald inmate fell flat on his back on the hard floor. He clutched his jaw, coughing violently with his eyes wide open. The intense pain made the bald man more frantic as he struggled up. "You son of a bitch." Without another word, Ji-hun stood right behind him. He lifted his leg, aiming straight for the man's shiny head. The other inmates sat silently at their tables in fear, not daring to make a sound. The bald inmate lay, knocked out with his eyes shut and 2 front teeth missing. Ji-hun said coldly, "I thought I made myself clear." His words struck the trembling inmates like lightning. "If one of you messes up, then you all get punished." He glanced over them coldly and shouted, "What are you doing, you pieces of trash? Get your faces on the floor." 1 month ago at this very prison, inside the warden's office, an electric kettle just boiled and beeped a few times. The tense warden watched as water was poured into a cup. The cup crackled while a smug inmate in front of him droned on. "The professor has reached his limit, you know." He put the kettle down and continued, "You know what happens when the professor gets angry, don't you, Warden?" Hearing that, he glanced at the warden. "For someone so understanding, Warden, is that really how you handle things?" The warden grew even more anxious with a pale face. "It's because of that." The inmate suddenly changed the subject. "There's a new guard, right?" The bewildered warden replied, "Yes." The warden was stunned when the inmate asked, "But what will you do if he doesn't listen, just like Chief Yoon?" He hesitated, looking at the man, and said, "You know it's hard for me to clean up the mess if a guard dies." The smug inmate scowled viciously upon hearing this. "We put you in this position to handle things like that, Warden." The warden could only bow his head in silent resignation. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. The man put his coffee cup on the table. "It seems you have a visitor, Warden. I'll take my leave then." The warden seemed relieved and quickly sent him off. "Well, go on inside and get some rest." As the inmate turned the doorknob, he said, "One more thing, Warden." He frowned and turned back to add, "The professor himself will visit you next time, remember that." The warden pursed his lips, sweating profusely. "I understand." As soon as he opened the door, he saw the person waiting there. Ji-hun gave a cold glance to the person leaving the room. The inmate also watched the back of the young man who was entering. The inmate later scowled in his cell. "That guy's look is really asking for a beating. He's definitely not going to work out." The warden sat in his chair and raised an eyebrow at the newcomer. Recognizing the person, he finally spoke. "You must be guard Han Ji-hun." He stood straight and saluted formally. "I am Han Ji-hun, the newly appointed chief of security for Jokshan prison." The warden looked at his file. "All right, have a seat. This is impressive. You passed the civil service exam and maxed out your training academy practicals. It seems this prison has just gained an exceptional talent." The warden looked up as he spoke. "Yes, what is it?" Ji-hun asked frankly. The inmate from before seemed rather familiar with this office. The warden stammered, "I just had something to discuss with him." Ji-hun's voice deepened. It was him, right? The one who killed Captain Yoon. The warden froze in shock after hearing that. He slammed the table and quickly denied it. "What are you talking about? Chief Yoon committed suicide because of gambling debts." Ji-hun sat upright firmly. "Warden, I came here as the chief of security." He gave the warden a cold look. "Do you think I took this job without knowing anything?" He pounded his fist on the table and yelled, "Hey, Chief Han, what are you trying to do saying things like that on your first day?" Ji-hun launched another psychological blow. "Then what about the story of Guard Park who disappeared a year ago?" The warden froze again. "What?" Ji-hun continued calmly. "You don't need to be so surprised, Warden, as I don't intend to dig up the past right now." The warden eyed him warily. "You mean you can turn a blind eye to this?" Ji-hun answered curtly, "Well, yes." He looked at him coldly to correct himself, not exactly turn a blind eye. More like in exchange for a small favor. The smug inmate stood outside a cell to report. A new guard has arrived. He heard the person inside ask, "Oh, does he seem like someone easy to talk to?" The smug inmate replied, "We only met briefly, but I didn't like the rebellious look in his eyes." He closed the thick book in his hand. "This is interesting. Taming a disobedient dog is the most satisfying thing." Dong Cheon laughed with both excitement and malice. "Bring him here for now. I will decide how to tame him." On the floor, a bloodied inmate was crawling and begging, "Professor, please." He couldn't even finish before being stomped on the face. "Please help me." The smug inmate was still standing outside respectfully. "Yes, I understand, Professor." He suddenly heard someone yell, "Who the hell is that bastard now?" Ji-hun walked through the iron gate with his baton amidst obscene jeers. "Where the hell do you think you're going?" A crowd of inmates surrounded Ji-hun, surprising the smug one. "What's this? That guy dares to come here alone. You guys bring that bastard over here." An inmate with a buzz cut and number 5331 cracked his knuckles. "You heard him. Follow me quietly now," Ji-hun commanded coldly. "Number 5331, go back to your cell." The inmate furiously grabbed Ji-hun's collar and yelled, "Are you pretending not to understand what I just said?" Ji-hun's voice was low with a final warning. "Go back to your cell." The baton hit number 5331's cheek like a sledgehammer. The inmate collapsed in disbelief. What the hell did that guard just hit someone? The smug inmate gave an order with an ugly look. "What are you staring at? Everyone pull out your weapons." The lackeys immediately rushed Ji-hun with all sorts of weapons. The smug inmate ordered nonchalantly, "Each of you gently break one of his arms and legs for me." The crowd cheered, "Yes, sir." Ji-hun's expression didn't change as he readied his baton. "Just like the rumors, it's wilder than a kennel in here." He calmly swung his baton up to meet the fight. Ji-hun moved forward with lightning speed. A series of inmates were hit with critical blows. They collapsed onto the floor in pain. Jae-kun took them all down with ease. His cold eyes stared straight at the man before him. The smug inmate also charged forward with a knife. This son of a bitch. He quickly leaned back, dodging the sharp blade. Ji-hun lifted his leg and kicked him straight in the knee. Then the baton immediately swung towards the smug inmate's face. He couldn't dodge in time and took a massive blow that sent him flying. Ji-hun mercilessly struck the inmate away. He slammed hard into a wall and coughed up a spray of blood. He walked up to the smug inmate and asked, "You looked pretty relaxed when you went to the warden's office earlier." He reached for his knife, but Ji-hun kicked it away. He savagely grabbed the smug inmate's head. "You think prison life is fun, huh, you bastard, or making a big mistake?" As soon as he finished speaking, Ji-hun smashed his face into the floor. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the prison. The warden was stunned by Ji-hun's suggestion. "What are you out of your mind? You absolutely cannot touch them." He leaned forward slightly from his chair. "I told you earlier I'll do my job quietly and then leave, so please just tell me." He looked straight at the warden and growled, "Ooh, Dong Cheon, where is that bastard hiding now?" The professor calmly read a blood-stained book. He slowly and gently turned each page. Outside was a scene of pure chaos. Wounded and bleeding people were lying everywhere. Ji-hun walked calmly down the corridor. Dong Cheon held his book as he heard someone call from outside, "Hey, Professor, you know? More like you, Dong Cheon." He grew excited hearing his full name, but Ji-hun responded with cold indifference, "You bastard, get out here." Outside there had been an old abandoned hospital. On a table were photos of Dong Cheon, a former university professor, who used his position to create a cult. He got a 25-year sentence for manslaughter and other crimes. The informant picked up a photo to look at it. But this guy is a very resourceful fellow. Ji-hun sat opposite him. "So it's him, are you sure?" The informant put the photo down. "I'm not entirely certain. But you can bet that any dirty business in Jokshan prison goes through him." He clasped his hands grimly. "Besides, it won't be easy. I met him once in prison, but he didn't seem like a reasonable person." Ji-hun picked up a photo. "You don't need to worry about that." He narrowed his eyes coldly. "I don't plan on talking either." Ji-hun stood imposingly before the cell. "Get out here." Dong Cheon put a hand on his forehead and laughed manically. He slowly walked towards the door. How amazing. Dong Cheon looked through the bars on the cell door. The new guard, Han Ji-hun. He offered with a sly grin, "Want to make a deal with me?" Dong Cheon gripped the bars. "I have a grand plan because I feel sorry for those who die in prison. If you help me, I will give you anything you want." He continued rambling from inside. "What do you say, guard? Let's work together." Ji-hun cut him off. "Hey," he ordered disgustedly, "shut up and get out here." Dong Cheon took off his glasses. "The guards here are so foolish." He stroked his hair darkly. I gave you a chance and you just threw it away, Cheon-ho. Ji-hun glanced coldly behind him. An unusually large figure appeared. Finish him. He leaned away from the punch, which instead dented the iron bars on the door. Dong Cheon was still inside watching the situation. Cheon-ho stood guard ferociously in front of Dong Cheon's cell. Dong Cheon casually opened the door and stepped out. Perhaps you don't know since you're new. He gave a sinister smile. But that kind of attitude will get you killed. Ji-hun held his baton unfazed. Where did this big guy come from? He rotated his wrist, gripping the baton as veins popped. Oh, you're dumber than I thought. If I were you, I would have never left my cell. Dong Cheon stood behind Cheon-ho. I wonder where that confidence of yours comes from. As he finished speaking, Cheon-ho charged. Just keep him breathing. Ji-hun immediately raised his baton. He blocked the man's powerful punch. He was pushed back forcefully. His whole body skidded back quite a distance. Dong Cheon gloated from behind. It would be a shame if you fell now. He snapped his fingers. Because I still have a lot prepared for you. Another cell door suddenly opened. Behind it were several fierce-looking inmates. 5 or 6 more inmates also appeared. Large and vicious men stepped out together. Dong Cheon turned away. Just so you know, my previous offer still stands. If you survive, of course. He ordered a subordinate. Contact the warden's office and tell him I'm on my way. The man bowed respectfully. Yes, sir. He adjusted his glasses. The warden hired an interesting new guy, but I thought I gave him a clear warning. Ji-hun looked at the 2 broken pieces of his baton. Dong Cheon glanced maliciously. You have to train them properly before letting them in. Meanwhile, Cheon-ho charged at Ji-hun again. He watched with annoyance as the giant rushed him. Dong Cheon stood aside, waiting for his subordinate to call the warden. As soon as the call connected, the person on the other end spoke first. I need a favor. The subordinate offered the phone with both hands. Professor, the warden wanted to talk to you as soon as he picked up. Dong Cheon took the phone. Give it to me. He started speaking to the warden on the other end. His next words were ice cold. Are you asking for a death wish? The warden on the other end was sweating bullets. No, I'll explain everything. He yelled desperately into the phone. So please spare that guard, will you? He's the chief of security, and his death would cause huge problems. Dong Cheon replied darkly. I'll be the one to decide that. He hadn't finished when someone flew by and landed next to him. Just shut your mouth and stay quiet until I get there. He was immediately grabbed by the head with a powerful hand. Ji-hun decisively slammed Dong Cheon's head down. His whole body was forced down onto the cold floor. The impact made him cough in terror. Ji-hun spoke nonchalantly, disobeying orders, leaving your cell, and attempting to murder a guard. He looked coldly at the head in his hands. Don't worry, I won't be following the rules. Dong Cheon, with his face down, stubbornly asked, how did you get here? Ji-hun explained casually. Your boys are tough. It took some effort just to knock them out. Inside was a chaotic scene of bodies piled up. All of them were unconscious and lying on top of each other. Every single one of them was injured in multiple places. Ji-hun kept Dong Cheon's head pinned to the floor. Answer my questions properly and I'll let this go. He asked in a low voice. You took care of all the inmates who died in here, right? The man tried to bargain. If you're curious, let go of me first so we can talk. Ji-hun punched Dong Cheon's hand hard. You only get one chance to answer this nicely, remember that. The pain made his eyes bulge as he drooled and groaned meaninglessly. His bruised red hand trembled continuously. I don't know why you're asking about that, but thanks to me, this prison's order is maintained. Ji-hun slammed his hand down again on the man's raised index finger. He growled, demanding a short answer. He uttered a name in a low voice, Seo Min-jun. Dong Cheon's eyes widened in shock instantly. Ji-hun looked at him coldly. You know that name, right? Who killed him? He lifted his head and clicked his tongue. Seo Min-jun, huh? This is the first time I've heard that name, guard. Ji-hun bent back his 2 bruised fingers. Dong Cheon immediately lost control and screamed in pain. Like a demon from hell, he grabbed his hair. I told you already, you only had one chance to answer nicely. The sound of someone else's footsteps approached. Another guard interrupted the conversation. Please wait a moment. Kang Yoon-min bowed with a slight smile. You're Chief Han Ji-hun, aren't you? He extended a hand toward Ji-hun. I'm Section Chief Kang Yoon-min. Seeing the newcomer, Dong Cheon wiped his face and smiled triumphantly. Kang Yoon-min looked at the man struggling up. I'm not sure what happened, but that inmate is my responsibility. You can leave the rest to me and go on ahead. He smiled with a foxy grin. I will punish him according to regulations, so don't you worry too much. Ji-hun politely shook hands with Kang Yoon-min. He introduced himself. I am the newly appointed security chief Han Ji-hun. Thank you for your kind offer, but as far as I know, handling troublesome inmates is also within the security chief's duties. Kang Yoon-min bowed his head without a word, his foxy smile slightly fading. Ji-hun stood straight and continued coldly. It's my first day, I can't push my work onto a section chief. Kang Yoon-min smiled and waved his hand. You don't need to push yourself so hard, Ji-hun coldly called out, ignoring Dong Cheon's shocked face. Number 5281. With me. He grabbed Dong Cheon's hair and dragged him away. Hey, wait a minute, what do you think you're doing? Section Chief Kang, why are you just standing there blinking? Kang Yoon-min lit the cigarette in his mouth. Geez, seriously. Dong Cheon screamed in terror. Hey, Section Chief Kang, do something. Ji-hun's face was impassive as he heard Kang Yoon-min call him. Wait a minute. He looked annoyed with a pistol aimed forward. Let me finish my work first. I hope you understand. A sudden gunshot rang out and blood splattered everywhere. Dong Cheon let out a cry before he even realized what happened. A bleeding hole had opened in his stomach. Ji-hun glanced coldly at the person behind him as Dong Cheon collapsed to the ground. He had unexpectedly left the conversation for now. Kang Yoon-min calmly put the gun back into his jacket pocket. He was still smiling like a cunning fox. If you push this any further, Ji-hun stared at Kang Yoon-min with a probing look. He just saw the man smile like a true demon. Then I'll really get mad. Chief, Ji-hun somberly looked at the man sprawled out on the floor. He asked in a dark, confused tone, What the hell are you doing? Kang Yoon-min stepped closer to Ji-hun. I don't know your purpose for coming to this prison. But he leaned in even closer. You should probably stop whatever it is you're doing. Kang Yoon-min's eyes suddenly became as sharp as a knife. That's my advice to you as your senior here. He grabbed Dong Cheon by the collar and pulled him up. So I'll just assume you understand. Kang Yoon-min smiled again, slinging Dong Cheon's arm over his shoulder. I don't want to become a murderer, so I'll take this inmate to the infirmary. Ji-hun silently turned his head to watch them go. He thought to himself, Section Chief Kang Yoon-min. As he thought, he began walking in the opposite direction. Now there's another variable. The doctor holding a medical chart said, The surgery was successful and his life isn't in danger. But he lost a lot of blood, so we need to monitor him for now. Dong Cheon lay on the hospital bed with an oxygen mask. He showed no signs of waking up, so he didn't hear Kang Yoon-min ask when he would regain consciousness. The doctor replied uncertainly. I can't say for sure, Kang Yoon-min asked back, really. The pretty doctor said coolly, Well, I'll be heading inside now. Kang Yoon-min politely replied, Yes, thank you for your hard work. He looked back at Dong Cheon. Don't feel too bad. If I hadn't fired that shot, you'd definitely be dead right there. Dong Cheon lay still, breathing steadily through the oxygen mask. Kang Yoon-min put his hands in his pockets thoughtfully. But why would the new guard want to drag this guy away? He turned on his heel decisively. In the end, Kang Yoon-min left with a dark thought. What is that guy's true identity? He spoke to the surveillance officer at the door. All right, let's head back. Yes, sir. The officer following Kang Yoon-min asked. Sir, will it be okay if word gets out that Professor Yu was shot? He replied calmly. Don't worry, all of Professor Yu's men have been crippled. The officer gasped. How could those monsters? Kang Yoon-min kept walking steadily. It was just one man and he didn't have a single scratch on him. His subordinate was incredulous. Then shouldn't you have shot that guy instead of Professor Yu? Kang Yoon-min smiled, remembering Ji-hun's terrifying eyes at that moment. If I had pointed my gun at that guy then, the one lying in there would have been me. The female doctor watched the two men as they left. She put her phone to her ear. He just left here, and you, Dong Cheon, should regain consciousness in a few days. Ji-hun replied into his phone. I understand, thank you for your work. He looked at the screen as the call ended. It seems this will take a little longer than I thought. He stood before an empty lot filled with white flags. What on earth are you looking for here? Ji-hun looked at a tattered flag. Minjun. A past trial flashed in his mind. For the defendant's cruel murder of the victim, a heavy sentence is unavoidable. The court sentences defendant Seo Minjun to 25 years in prison. Minjun silently bowed his head as the judge announced the verdict. A prison officer approached. Inmate, let's go. Someone called his name from behind. Minjun. He looked in surprise towards the familiar voice. Ji-hun stood in the audience section asking if he was okay. He exclaimed in shock, Brother! Minjun frowned and said guiltily, I'm so sorry, brother. After speaking, he lowered his face and followed the officer away. He walked past his dear friend Ji-hun with pressed lips. Suddenly, Minjun turned back and shouted, Brother, I have one last favor to ask. The startled officer quickly grabbed his arm. Inmate. Ji-hun looked up at the young man trying to convey his message. I haven't given up yet, so you have to. He tried to smile optimistically and said loudly, I'm asking you to please believe in me until the very end. Ji-hun ended the flashback still staring at the tattered flag. I never once doubted you. The reason you deliberately went to prison then died in this place must be related to the real killer, right? Ji-hun clenched his fist. From now on, leave everything to me. He directed his gaze towards the fortified prison. I will definitely find that bastard. Inside the warden's familiar office, Kang Yoon-min came to see the warden to discuss matters. He calmly reported. His real target probably wasn't Professor Yu. The warden asked, surprised, then why did he aim for him? He looked sharply at him. He probably wanted to use Professor Yu to get the information he wants, since no one knows this place better than Professor Yu. The warden hastily suggested. Then just tell him what he wants to know and get Chief Han to leave problem solved, right? Kang Yoon-min immediately objected. No, we can't do that. The warden's face immediately contorted. But if we just leave him be, what if he causes more trouble? Kang Yoon-min gave a slight smile and cut him off. Didn't I just say that we can't do that? The warden immediately sat up straight with a serious look. Then I suppose you have your own plan. A knock on the door interrupted the conversation. The warden called out. Who is it? Come in. He exclaimed in shock when Ji-hun entered. Chief Han. He hastily tried to send him away. What are you doing here? If it's not urgent, come back later. Kang Yoon-min spoke up. There's no need for that. Please have a seat. The uneasy warden asked Section Chief Kang. Are you really sure this is okay? He replied casually. Yes, I'm fine. Ji-hun sat down opposite them. Section Chief Kang, you're here too. Kang Yoon-min replied, if you feel uncomfortable, I can step out for a moment. Ji-hun said seriously, no need. It just so happens I have something to say. Kang Yoon-min immediately asked, what is it that you want to talk about? Hearing this, Ji-hun asked directly, how is Yu Dong-cheon? Kang Yoon-min smiled and replied, luckily he's still breathing. Ji-hun announced decisively, I'll be visiting the infirmary tomorrow. Kang Yoon-min slightly bowed his head and repeated, I thought I advised you not to do anything. The warden listened nervously as they exchanged words. Do I really have to listen to you? You're quite an interesting person. Kang Yoon-min tilted his head slightly. Why are you so interested in Professor Yu? As if you have a grudge against him. Ji-kun gave his cold answer. I think Professor Yu knows the information I'm looking for. Kang Yoon-min curled his lips slyly. What if it's just that then you can just ask me? Who are you looking for? Ji-hun uttered the name that had been weighing on him. Seo Min-jun. Kang Yoon-min repeated, Seo Min-jun, so it's Seo Min-jun again? He gave a hollow smile. Chief, are you joking with me right now? That guy named Seo Min-jun is already dead, isn't he? Ji-hun was slightly annoyed. You seem to know a lot about it. Kang Yoon-min replied, obviously, how could I not know about that guy? He replied calmly, most of the guys thrown in here have committed murder. Among them, Seo Min-jun's case was quite a sensation. His eyes suddenly sharpened. He murdered his own fiancée right before their wedding. He killed his bride-to-be in an indescribably brutal way, didn't you know? Ji-hun looked up slightly and continued, from what I've heard, Seo Min-jun's body has still not been found. Kang Yoon-min clenched his fist. He escaped prison and fell into the sea, so it makes sense his body was lost. Ji-hun questioned coldly. You're confirming Seo Min-jun is dead based on that alone. Did you personally verify it? The warden spoke up annoyed. Well, in a prison surrounded by the sea like this, where else could he have gone? Kang Yoon-min added, what are you trying to say? Ji-hun looked at the two of them and replied, I am reinvestigating that case, so I hope you will cooperate with me as much as possible. The warden exclaimed in shock. What? Kang Yoon-min also stopped smiling. There's no solid evidence that he's still alive. For you to suddenly ask for our cooperation like this is a bit difficult. Ji-hun replied calmly, a reason. His back suddenly seemed colder. The fiancée that Seo Min-jun supposedly murdered. He intertwined his fingers with a thoughtful face. She was my younger sister. Is that a good enough reason? The warden put his hand to his forehead and sighed. Kang Yoon-min stood by the window with his arms crossed. So he came here for revenge on the guy who killed his sister, right? The warden glanced at Kang Yoon-min. The culprit's name was Seo Min-jun, right? This is the first time I've heard that name. Who is he? Kang Yoon-min leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, looking at the warden. Do you really want to know? Hearing that made him a bit hesitant. No, it's not that knowing too much isn't a good thing here. So what's your plan now? I heard Chief Han plans to stick to Professor Yu starting tomorrow. He gave a slight smirk. You don't need to worry, Warden, because from now on, those two will never meet again. The shocked warden swiveled in his chair. Are you planning to kill Chief Han? Kang Yoon-min clicked his tongue. I won't kill him. His eyes turned ruthless, at least not right now. Night had fallen at the quiet hospital area. The female doctor heard a knock at the door. Who could that be? Everyone should have gone home by now. She stood up and called out, "Who is it?" Seeing the person, her expression changed. "What is this?" Ji-hun asked back. "What's wrong? Is something the matter?" The female doctor replied. "It's nothing, you're early." Ji-hun got straight to the point. "Where is Yu Dong-cheon?" She turned her head slightly. "You just got here and you're already worried about him. Follow me, we'll talk on the way." The two of them walked side by side down the corridor. He is still currently unconscious. Before the doctor could finish, the situation in the hospital room made her expression change. "But don't worry too much. At the latest, it will only be another 3 or 4 days. On the empty hospital bed. What is this?" Ji-hun frowned and asked, "Did someone come in here?" The doctor replied, "No one." She suddenly remembered the knock from earlier. Could it have been at that moment? The female doctor exclaimed, "They can't have gotten far." Ji-hun turned away. "Go check the CCTV right now." "Yes, I understand," she replied hastily. Ji-hun looked at the marks on the floor. Wheel tracks. He followed the tracks on the ground with his eyes. If it's this direction, then. Ji-hun deduced it wasn't the direction of the prison, but towards the town. The streets at night were deserted. Ji-hun walked along the empty road. A few drunk thugs were sitting on the sides. He called the pretty doctor on his phone. "Have you finished checking the surveillance cameras?" The other side replied, "Yes, I've checked." Someone in a gray hooded sweatshirt, about 175 centimeters tall, put Yu Dong-cheon in a wheelchair and pushed him out. He glanced at the figure ahead. "Yeah, I think I just found him," he shouted decisively. "Hey, stop right there." Ji-hun lowered his phone. "You must be cold, huh? All covered up in this heat." The hooded figure paused for a moment. He suddenly broke into a run. Ji-hun immediately gave chase without hesitation. The person in the hoodie ran up a flight of stairs. Jae-kun took a moment to assess the situation. Then he vaulted over to cut him off. Ji-hun quickly passed him. He quickly grabbed the man's arm. The person in the hoodie didn't expect to be caught. He quickly raised his leg to counterattack. Ji-hun leaned back, avoiding the dangerous kick. He quickly threw a kick at the man's face. The man blocked it, but was still kicked back. He hit the wall and slowly slid to the ground. Ji-hun didn't give him a chance to breathe. Ji-hun immediately lifted his leg and continued his attack. The hooded man dodged to the side. He slid past and grabbed Ji-hun's standing leg. He looked down at the man grabbing his leg. Then he threw a massive punch at him. He was sent flying back hard. Ji-hun walked over and asked, "I won't ask anything else, just tell me where you took Yu Dong-cheon." He lowered his head and didn't answer his question. Then suddenly the man rushed towards Ji-hun. He glared. "Don't you understand human speech?" The man scooped up a handful of dirt. Ji-hun couldn't react in time and got dirt thrown in his face. He had to cover his eyes and take a few steps back. By the time he looked again, the man was gone. He squinted. "I can't believe I let my guard down. I've gotten rusty." Inside the prison late one evening, Kang Yoon-min crossed his arms and leaned against the wall. "You're late." He glanced at the newcomer. "Was there a problem?" The person in the hoodie took off his hood. "No need to worry." The revealed face was Min-jun, changing back into his uniform. "I've finished the delivery." He walked past Kang Yoon-min. "I'm going to do one last patrol and then clock out." He replied, "Yeah, you worked hard." Kang Yoon-min's foxy eyes followed Min-jun. He pursed his lips and touched his arm. "Damn it, is my arm broken?" At a long-abandoned shopping area. The inside was full of filth and plastic bottles. A butchered pig was hanging from a beam. Dong-cheon looked around him in terror. He was shirtless, lying in a corner. "What is this? Where am I?" A sharp cleaver cut through a tender piece of meat. The large figure looked up, hearing the noise. "Oh, you." He had the face of a demon and a blood-stained apron. Holding the menacing cleaver, he asked, "You're awake, huh?" In the dark forest on the trail, a figure slowly walked and disappeared. But Ji-hun followed the footprints until they vanished. He looked up at the sky and surmised, "The footprints stop here, which means..." A moment later, Ji-hun stood before an office. Only then did he realize something, but he himself wasn't sure of his own speculation. Ji-hun was suspicious of Section Chief Kang, but he immediately dismissed his own thought, no, that Kang guy isn't the type to show himself personally. The probability of that was quite low, and Ji-hun knew it. He came up with another theory if that's the case. He couldn't give himself an answer yet when a voice interrupted his thoughts. "Who are you?" The person looked at him and asked curiously, "This is a restricted area for outsiders." Ji-hun turned and introduced himself amicably. "I'm Han Ji-hun, the newly appointed security chief. Jin Young seemed to understand. I've heard about you." Ji-hun extended his hand for a handshake. "I look forward to working with you." Jin Young was briefly stunned by this action. He then shook his hand politely and introduced himself. "I'm Choi Jin Young, in charge of the classification interrogation room. It's a pleasure to work with you, Chief Han." Right after that, Jin Young quickly let go and said goodbye. "But I'm on my way out, so I'll give you a proper greeting next time, Chief." After saying that, he really started to leave. Ji-hun immediately followed behind him. Sensing someone behind him, Jin-young stopped without turning around. Is there something else you wanted to discuss, Chief Han Ji-hun? Even though he was discovered, Ji-hun showed no signs of panic or hesitation. He calmly stepped out from the corner and replied, Not really, I just have a few curious questions. Jin-young asked impatiently, What is it? Ji-hun said nothing and slowly advanced step by step. A swift kick sent Jin-young sprawling to the ground. He struggled up and asked furiously, What the hell was that for? Ji-hun looked down at him and assessed. Looks like I seriously injured your right arm earlier. Your reaction time is slower than before. Jin-young gritted his teeth and glared at Ji-hun, forcing out each word, I'm not letting you get away with this. Ji-hun stared at him. You're more brazen than I thought. You're confident because you think you left no evidence. He warned him, if I want to find proof that you took Professor Yu, I can find it any time. Thinking of something, Ji-hun asked him, You probably think the Warden and Section Chief Kang will cover for you, right? But you know as well as I do that they'll just slap a few more charges on you for messing up. He continued his warning. If you don't want to trade this guard uniform for a prison jumpsuit, then you'd better start talking. Where did you hide, Yu Dong-cheon? Ji-hun's eyes had turned ice cold. Looking down at Jin-young gave off a clear, intimidating pressure that made one shiver. The scene shifts to another place. Jong-soo glared and asked Dong-cheon, You're awake, huh? Dong-cheon's hands were tied to a wooden bed, shirtless. He screamed, What is this? Where am I? Dong-cheon cursed loudly. Untie me right now, you bastard. Jong-soo raised a shiny knife reflecting the light from the bulb, making it even brighter as he roared, It's too noisy. Seeing the knife, Dong-cheon could only grit his teeth with wide eyes, saying nothing. From outside, a voice said, Wait a moment. Section Chief Kang pushed aside the curtain and entered. He said to Dong-cheon, This is the first time we've met outside the prison, huh? Section Chief Kang asked with concern, How are you feeling? In contrast to his calm demeanor, Dong-cheon roared, Section Chief Kang, you bastard. You think you can get away with doing this to me? He threatened. If anything happens to me, they won't let you off easily. Section Chief Kang feigned difficulty. Oh really, but what can I do? This was a direct order from them. Dong-cheon asked, stunned, What? They know everything. Section Chief Kang placed his hands on the bed looking down. He slowly explained, That plan of yours to pretend to deal with the inmates and sneak someone out. Dong-cheon faintly guessed what was about to happen to him. He looked up at Section Chief Kang with a meaningful question, could it be? Without answering him, he continued, You know this too, right? Anything that happens in this prison isn't allowed to leave the island. Yet you plan to send a living person out. Section Chief Kang's voice deepened. You probably won't have any regrets if you die now, huh? Dong-cheon didn't answer the question. He lay down, piquing the man's curiosity, and asked Seo Min-jun and Han Ji-hun, Aren't you curious about their relationship? Section Chief Kang had one hand in his pocket. He replied nonchalantly, Don't worry, I'll ask everything I'm curious about before I slowly send you off. Dong-cheon asked back, annoyed. You think I'm just going to tell you everything like that? If you want to know, then unlock these and we can talk like human beings. Section Chief Kang asked him with deep meaning. It seems you still don't grasp the situation, huh? He then called out Jong-soo. The man replied instantly, Yes, sir. He pointed to a spot on Dong-cheon's body and ordered, Cut this off. The man moved like a programmed robot, immediately replying, Yes, sir. Seeing Jong-soo really approach with the gleaming knife, Dong-cheon yelled, Are you insane? Don't you know what trump card I'm holding? Section Chief Kang narrowed his eyes and sneered. This damn liar is trying to pull another trick. Dong-cheon immediately seized the opportunity. I have information about the people at the very top. What do you say? Section Chief Kang looked at him surprised. What, seeing this reaction, Dong-cheon continued, Now you're interested, aren't you? Taking a cigarette from the pack, Section Chief Kang frankly admitted, Yeah, I'm a little interested. As he lit it, he asked, But how can I trust a word from a con artist like you? Dong-cheon was baffled. What? Section Chief Kang turned and walked away, leaving Dong-cheon's struggling gaze behind and not forgetting to instruct Jong-soo. Kill him. Dong-cheon called after him. Wait a moment. Section Chief Kang, where are you going? Despite his struggles, Jong-soo swung the knife with nearly all his strength. He screamed in desperation. Stop, I said stop, you son of a bitch! In his utter helplessness, he yelled, Section Chief Kang. Only a terrifying silence answered Dong-cheon. At the same time, Ji-hun stood before a somewhat old and gloomy house. He opened the door and stepped inside. He pushed aside a curtain to go further in. Dong-cheon had been dealt with, so now only Jong-soo was standing there. He turned to look at him and asked bewilderedly, Who are you? Without letting Ji-hun answer, He threatened, if you've come in here, then I'll have to kill you. Ji-hun was now holding a dagger. He replied with an indifferent tone, Me, I've been busy running all over the place looking for someone, so I'm exhausted. His voice turned cold. I'll only ask once. Where is Udong Cheon? Jong-soo replied pretentiously. Who knows? Where could he possibly be? After saying that, he turned and swung his knife at Ji-hun. Seeing him dodge, the man looked at him in surprise. Ji-hun asked again with a warning tone, Is that your answer? Jong-soo attacked Ji-hun once more. This time he didn't dodge, but countered. He parried the blow with his own knife and reminded him, I told you, didn't I, that I would only ask once. Ji-hun attacked the man in return. With just one punch to a pressure point, Jong-soo stood frozen like a statue. He let out a pained and pathetic scream. Seeing this, he shouted, annoyed, What are you whining about? I deliberately avoided hitting the pressure point with full force. Jong-soo was already sprawled on the ground. Ji-hun held the dagger tightly. He told Jong-soo, from now on, I'll only cut the places that will hurt you the most. Seeing the man silent, Ji-hun repeated his earlier question. I'll ask again, where is Udong Cheon? Of course, Jong-soo had no intention of talking. He even challenged him. If you want, you can just slowly kill me that way. Ji-hun granted his wish. He replied, all right then, let me give it a try. Ji-hun used his body to pin him down. Jong-soo coughed violently and said, I'm going to die anyway, so you can just slowly kill me however you want. Ji-hun raised the knife in his hand, his eyes sharp as he growled out each word. All right, let me give it a try. He then aggressively brought the knife close to the man's eye, but had no intention of killing him. He let out a breath and stood up without a word, then abruptly turned to leave. But before he could take more than a few steps, Jong-soo's hand grabbed him. The man was covered in blood and gave a chilling smile. What's this? Where are you going, being so cold all of a sudden? Stay and play with me a little longer. Ji-hun forcefully turned and kicked the man hard in the face. Jong-soo was exhausted and lay on the ground. He could only blink as he watched him walk towards the closed door ahead. He stared intently at the door in front of him. He looked at the door, then quickly opened it. A wave of hot air rushed out quickly, revealing the inside. A shirtless man was crawling on the floor. He clawed at it again and again, leaving terrifying scratches. Seeing someone arrive, Dong Cheon stammered out, Save me. Please save me. Ji-hun quickly ran to his side. He exclaimed urgently, Damn it! He quickly lifted the man up, observed him from head to toe, then uttered he won't last 5 minutes at this rate. He then hoisted him onto his shoulder, let out a sigh and thought to himself, I have to get him medical treatment first. Before Ji-hun could move, he saw a large axe about to fly towards him. He quickly pushed Dong Cheon forward to avoid the axe, but he was still slashed across the neck with a long cut. Dong Cheon screamed in terror as the axe flew past and embedded itself in the nearby wall. Jong-soo laughed loudly from a distance. He glared fiercely and said, You need to finish playing with me first. Ji-hun ignored him and went to the wall to pull out the axe. He threw it at the man with all his might. Jong-soo had no time to defend himself. He was knocked unconscious by the axe. Ji-hun anxiously turned to Dong Cheon to check on him. He cursed out loud, Damn it all. Dong Cheon was now clutching his neck to stop the bleeding. Ji-hun quickly went over and pressed down on his hands. He yelled urgently, Wake up! I said, wake up, you bastard. By then, Dong Cheon's eyes had rolled back, and he was no longer breathing. Ji-hun angrily punched the floor, trembling as he said, Damn it. You should have at least said something before you died, you useless son of a bitch. At the prison headquarters, Ji-hun in a clean uniform coldly asked Kang Yoon-min, Have you heard any news about Udong Cheon? Kang Yoon-min casually replied with a raised eyebrow, Ah, I heard he disappeared from the hospital, right? He smirked with a savage grin and continued, Well, don't worry too much if he escapes. His fate will be one of two things. Either he gets caught or he dies. Hearing this, Ji-hun hesitated for a long time before saying, I see. You can continue with your work. After saying that, he turned and walked away. Kang Yoon-min called out from behind him, Thank you for your hard work, Chief. After Ji-hun disappeared from view, a voice suddenly spoke up. Don't you think you're attracting too much of that guy's attention? He continued, You know that he's the kind of person you don't want to mess with. Kang Yoon-min turned sharply with a satisfied smirk and replied, Don't worry, everything is going according to the original plan. Jin Young, hiding behind the wall, shuddered and decided not to continue the conversation. At the high-risk offenders block, Kang Yoon-min approached the guard on duty. Open the door for me. The man obeyed immediately. Yes, sir. Kang Yoon-min quickly entered the cell block. He stood before the cell of the person he wanted to see, smiled and said, Long time no see, Jim Ho. This young man's name is Jim Ho. Kang Yoon-min raised an eyebrow disdainfully and asked, You're looking pretty bright-faced, aren't you? Jim Ho tilted his head and looked at him calmly, replying smugly, I'm about to leave this place, of course I am. Kang Yun-min stretched his eerie smile and said with amusement, You mean the prison transfer, huh? He sighed and continued, but it looks like that's going to be difficult. He paused for a moment before dropping the bomb. You won't be able to get transferred anymore. Jim Ho was stunned and asked in confusion, what? Kang Yun-min smiled brightly and calmly replied, A new security chief has arrived and he's the one who opposed your transfer. So why don't you just stay here and be the king of the castle, what do you say? Jim Ho dragged himself to the bars, his hands gripping them tightly as he growled out each word. Which bastard dares to object? He frantically ordered Kang Yun-min, Open the door. I'll kill that security chief or whatever the hell he is. Seeing his reaction, Kang Yun-min just let out a sigh and said nothing. At the training ground, instead of training, everyone was standing around chatting. One of them felt something strange and frowned. Huh. Another one immediately asked what's wrong. The man looked towards the gate in fear and stammered Isn't that Jim Ho? Jim Ho was casually strolling around outside the training ground, while everyone inside was buzzing about him. The person from before asked in surprise, Why is that bastard here? I clearly heard he was transferred. Suddenly Ji-hun entered the yard and spoke in a cold voice. Who allowed you to gather here and make noise? The men realized it was Ji-hun. He growled out each word of the order disperse now, and they quickly turned and left. Ji-hun walked to the gate in front of him. Jim Ho on the other side observed him with a raised eyebrow and asked with interest, You're the new guard, huh? You've got quite an attitude. Ji-hun coldly asked back, Who are you? Jim Ho swallowed awkwardly and said, Well, I'm looking for someone. Who is the new security chief? Ji-hun ignored his question and repeated, I asked who are you? Jim Ho let out a derisive laugh and said, This place has changed a lot, hasn't it? Hey, you Ji-hun suddenly cut him off. Hey, number 8122, head on the ground. He turned to look straight at the man. He calmly drew the sword from his side and gave the cold order. Do it now. Jim Ho was a little shocked and exclaimed, What the hell is this? Ji-hun patiently repeated with a serious face. Didn't you hear me? I said head on the ground. The two of them stared each other down, neither one backing down. The other inmates felt an invisible chill, as Ji-hun's patience wore thin and his face darkened. Jim Ho on the other side of the gate also felt a sense of fear towards this person. He hesitated for a moment, then decisively turned away. Leaving only one sentence, You must be the new guard, huh? Since this is our first meeting, I'll let you know who I am in this place, he declared. Jim Ho quickly walked towards the gate leading into the yard, slowly approaching where Ji-hun was standing. Ji-hun wasn't scared at all, on the contrary. He calmly looked at the man and spoke coldly. The only thing I need to know about you, number 8122, is your inmate number. Jim Ho scoffed and continued condescendingly. You're still talking big even now, aren't you? He reached his right hand behind him and stared straight at him, saying mockingly, If you keep acting so high and mighty, you won't get a clean death. Jim Ho silently grabbed the handle of the knife he had hidden in his pants. He was as composed as before, laughing loudly and saying, I'm already starting to have fun. Suddenly, a man stood behind Jim Ho. He grabbed a nearby glass bottle and raised it high, aiming for Jim Ho's head. He yelled out in anger, Jim Ho, I will avenge the brothers you harmed. Go to hell. But before he could touch a single hair on Jim Ho's head, he was shoved away by a powerful elbow to the face. His face was immediately deformed, and he fell to the ground in pain, the glass bottle shattering into two pieces. The other inmates, seeing this, rushed over to the man and exclaimed in alarm, His nose, it's completely smashed. Get him to the infirmary right now. Jim Ho let out a sigh and turned away, saying with disappointment, These party poopers have ruined all my fun. He turned his head to look at him, raised an eyebrow, and said authoritatively, I'll let you off this time, you new recruit. Ji-hun stood still and stared at him without a word. At the cell block, Kang Yun-min visited the man again, with a slight surprise in his voice. I thought you'd be angry about your transfer being cancelled, but you seem quite happy. What happened? Jim Ho replied nonchalantly while lying on his bed. I just found a rather interesting new guard. Through the long slot in the door, Kang Yun-min passed a thick stack of papers inside. He said with a raised eyebrow, Here, take this. Jim Ho took it confused and asked, What is this? Kang Yun-min chuckled with amusement and replied, The target's information. If you're going to kill him, you need to know what he looks like first. Jim Ho glanced at the man's file and laughed loudly, then asked with interest, This bastard is the new security chief. Kang Yun-min nodded and replied, Yeah, that's right. Jim Ho glanced at the photo on the front page, a small smile playing on his lips as he said happily, "It looks like I won't be bored until my transfer now." Seeing Jim Ho's reaction, Kang Yoon-min was very pleased and said with a bright smile, "I'm sure you know what to do, but I'm still curious how you plan to do it." Jim Ho said simply, "The easiest way is to just beat the shit out of him." Kang Yoon-min hesitated, clicked his tongue and said, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" The incident with the last security chief caused quite a stir here. There were investigations and purges all over the place, wasn't it? Jim Ho's expression changed, his face darkening as Kang Yoon-min continued, "If something similar happens again, do you think they will happily approve your transfer?" Jim Ho clicked his tongue and said, "Really, so does our esteemed section chief have a plan in mind?" Kang Yoon-min leaned against the wall with a smirk and replied, "Of course, just pin the murder of that security chief on the recently deceased Professor Yu." Seeing Jim Ho silent, he began to taunt him, pacing back and forth in front of Jim Ho's cell with a bright smile. "What do you think? It's simple enough, right? I'll lure that security chief out for you because I have something that will provoke him. The time is before tomorrow's roll call. The location is the workshop. Handle it quietly. It'll be troublesome if anyone sees." Unfortunately, their conversation was overheard by another surveillance officer. In the bathroom, Ji-hun was showering when he remembered something and angrily punched the wall. After a long time, Ji-hun wrapped a towel around his head and stepped out of the bathroom shirtless. But his eyes caught a piece of paper on the table in front of him. Ji-hun was puzzled and picked up the paper to read it. After seeing the contents, he angrily threw the paper to the ground. He recalled the past, when he found Jim Ho during a mission. He announced, "Target found." The younger Jim Ho trembled slightly, facing Ji-hun. He said into his radio, "Retreat from the scene immediately." His team members quickly moved in to restrain Jim Ho. The leader shouted, "Team Leader Han, your other team members have been captured. Put your hands up and surrender. Stay where you are." Ji-hun couldn't move, sweat dripping down his face, as the man gritted his teeth and thought angrily, "Damn it, Han Ji-hun. Damn that Han Ji-hun." At the workshop, Jim Ho was lazily leaning against a small table. He sighed and muttered, "Don't tell me that new security chief was a former comrade from my unit. Waiting is getting tiring. Maybe I should just go find him myself." Outside, Ji-hun followed the directions on the paper to get there, his anger reaching a boiling point, his heavy footsteps slowly leading him deeper. Suddenly, someone stood at the gate, blocking his way. That person spoke up, "Stop right there, Chief Han. I'm sorry, but you can't go through here. Please go back, Chief." Ji-hun glared angrily and growled, "You're the ones who called me here, and now you're talking nonsense." Faced with this attitude, Jin Young panicked and stammered for a moment. Before he could finish his sentence, an impatient Ji-hun grabbed him by the throat. He spoke with a cold annoyance. "You guys sent it to me, didn't you? You're the ones who told me to meet you at the workshop and even said it was you who killed Seo Min-jun." The more Ji-hun spoke, the more pressure he applied, making Jin Young's face turn pale. He clawed at his hand, trying to remove it from his neck, but to no avail. He struggled to speak in broken words. "Please, just listen to me." Jin Young quickly continued. "Section Chief Kang sent that fake message to lure you here. Please go back." Jin Young pressed on urgently, "Just this once, please believe me." Jin Young's face reminded him of Min-jun, who also had a bright smile when he told him, "Brother, please believe in me until the very end." Ji-hun frowned and looked at him. He let go of his hand, and after a long pause, he asked, "I don't quite understand. Why are you siding with me now?" Jin Young gasped for air and touched his neck, not daring to look at Ji-hun directly, and answered seriously, "I'm not siding with you. I just don't want to see Section Chief Kang's smug face." Ji-hun nodded and said, "All right, I'll trust you this once, but it looks like it'll be hard for me to go back." He then reached out his hand towards Jin Young with incredible speed, so terrifying that he screamed in fear. "I told you everything already." But his hand was blocked by another. The owner of the hand smiled brightly and said, "We meet again, huh, new recruit?" The two of them released their hands simultaneously. Jim Ho rubbed his hand slightly and looked at Ji-hun with a bright smile, saying, "I owe you a lot from that time." Ji-hun frowned and coldly asked, "What the hell are you talking about?" Jim Ho tilted his head and growled angrily, "You don't recognize me. We were in the same unit." Ji-hun calmly replied, "I've never met anyone like you." Ji-hun's indifferent attitude successfully angered him. Jim Ho lost his cool and swung a punch at Ji-hun, roaring in frustration, "You bastard, don't you know who I am? Let me beat you to a pulp. Then you'll remember." But before he could land a blow, Ji-hun blocked it with his hand. As he gnashed his teeth, he heard him whisper in his ear, "Number 8122. It doesn't matter to me who you are, but you'd better answer my next question carefully." Ji-hun's anger reached its peak, his expression dark and his voice cold as he asked, "You wrote the note, didn't you?" Jim-ho thought to himself. So this is the bait section Chief Kang mentioned. He observed Ji-hun's frantic actions and attitude, and thought to himself, I don't know what the bait is, but it's damn effective, huh? Jim-ho smirked with amusement and replied with a raised eyebrow, "It's 100% true." After confirming, Ji-hun let his guard down. He quickly moved in and grabbed his left arm and hand. He used just enough force to slam him to the ground, but it seemed the man was prepared for this, using the fall as a cushion. He quickly drew his hidden weapon and stabbed at Ji-hun. Luckily, his sharp reflexes allowed him to throw him forward instead. Jim-ho stumbled to his feet with a bright smile. "My right hand is a bit clumsy, you know. If it had been my left, you would have been dead just now. What a shame, huh?" Ji-hun gave him a cold look and got into a defensive stance, growling each word, "You're using a dangerous weapon." Jim-ho, amused, quickly stood up and looked at him with a smirk and continued, "Is your heart pounding now? Let's start round 2 right away." He advanced towards Ji-hun with a knife in hand. He raised his hand to stab him, but was blocked by his arm. He then slid the knife along his arm, nicking his face, taking advantage of his opening. Jim-ho launched another attack but was quickly blocked again. He seemed to go berserk and relentlessly tried to stab him in the face. Ji-hun had lost all patience. He used all his strength to punch him in the face, but Jim-ho was ready. He blocked it with his hand, which now throbbed with pain. He let out a mock sigh and said, "You're too focused on my dagger to use your full strength, aren't you?" Ji-hun stared at Jim-ho's dagger, feeling something strange about it. He frowned and thought, I think I've seen that dagger's shape somewhere before. A weapon designed purely for stabbing. Even a single stab from that knife would surely be a fatal wound. Following his gaze, Jim-ho looked down at the knife in his hand and laughed, saying excitedly, "This is a weapon used by the Austrian Special Forces. It's a specialized dagger for hand-to-hand combat." He went on enthusiastically. "I absolutely love it, so let's start round 3, shall we?" Before Ji-hun could answer, Jin Young stepped between them. He looked at Jim-ho and calmly offered a truce. "Let's stop here. It looks like you've had enough fun. Now please return to your cell." Jim-ho raised an eyebrow at Jin Young with interest and growled, "I have to finish the orders I received from Section Chief Kang before I go." In the stack of papers that Kang Yun-min gave him, there was another person's information. He said nonchalantly, "And this guard too." It was Jin Young, without hesitation. Jim-ho stabbed Jin Young in the stomach, smiling brightly and saying, "It looks like you misunderstood something. You're a target too." Jim-ho ignored Jin Young's pale and pained face and nonchalantly expressed his thoughts. "I was going to kill that guy as cleanly as possible. Why did you have to interfere?" "Well, then I'll just take care of you first," he said, as he pulled the knife out of Jin Young's body. He continued excitedly, "You've worked hard all this time. Section Chief Kang asked me to pass that on to you." He then prepared to stab Jin Young in the leg, but Ji-hun pushed him out of the way, taking the blow for him, and also managed to push the attacker back. Ji-hun groaned slightly in pain. Jim-ho lay on his back and laughed comfortably. He then quickly got up with the knife in his hand and said to Ji-hun, "That's the first proper exchange we've had. Come on. Now that there's no one in our way, let's start round 3. He tilted his head in confusion at the empty space in front of him. Where did those two disappear to? At the infirmary. Jin Young struggled to carry Ji-hun there, so he rushed to open the door and was surprised by the chaotic scene. Jin Young gasped out, "Dr. Lee." "So the chief has been stabbed. He's bleeding heavily from his abdomen." So he quickly ordered, "Help him lie down there." Jin Young immediately carried Ji-hun to a nearby bed and carefully laid him down. So he quickly stopped the bleeding, disinfected the wound, and bandaged him up. After a long time, once he was stable, so he looked at him and sighed. "If the stab had been a little higher, you probably would have died on the spot from blood loss." She continued gently, "I understand your eagerness, Ji-hun, but you should also think about your body." Ji-hun replied seriously, "Professor Yu is dead, so gathering information about Min Jun has become more difficult. I have to face this head-on if I want information." After a pause, he turned to look at Jin Young with a frown. "But why are you standing here listening in on our conversation?" Jin Young turned away and answered calmly, "I've been abandoned." Section Chief Kang tricked Jim-ho into thinking that the chief was blocking his transfer. Which is how he won him over. Then that bastard also tried to use him to get rid of me, who had been secretly investigating him. Ji-hun asked back. But weren't you also stabbed earlier? Jin-young clicked his tongue and continued. I expected something like this, so I was wearing a bulletproof vest. Ji-hun let out a sigh and slowly said, I see, but why would that Jim Ho guy sell his life to someone else just for a transfer? Jin-young hesitated in his answer. It's because... Ji-hun cut him off, frowning. Is there something special about the place he wants to be transferred to? Suddenly a roar came from the cage opposite them. One of his hands was free. The other was tied to the bed. He seemed agitated as he lunged forward and shouted, Jim Ho! Ji-hun quickly stood up and pulled So-hee to the side with a raised eyebrow. Isn't this the inmate who caused trouble with Jim Ho at the stadium? So-hee immediately answered. He suffers from seizures due to psychological trauma. If you look at his ears, you'll see signs of torture by Jim Ho. Ji-hun glanced at the man's face and noticed his ears. His skin had been chewed into multiple holes. Ji-hun's face darkened, and he spoke coldly. So that's what he meant by former comrades. In a secret room, Kang Yoon-min asked with amusement. You're telling me you let Chief Han Ji-hun get away? Jim Ho replied nonchalantly while leaning back on the sofa. Yeah. He fought back so fiercely that it was impossible for me to capture him alone. Kang Yoon-min rubbed his chin thoughtfully and said, Even you had trouble with him, huh? The guard sitting between them overheard their conversation, and immediately started sweating profusely in fear, thinking, why are they talking about this here? Jim Ho seemed to be planning a different approach, laughing loudly and saying through gritted teeth, That's right, so it's time to bring in the hyenas. The guard was shocked and exclaimed, What, the hyenas? Kang Yoon-min frowned and asked, What do you mean? You're going to use those thugs again. Before he could answer, Kang Yoon-min calmly continued, I just want to handle this quietly. Using the hyenas will cause a huge commotion, won't it? Jim Ho smiled calmly and said, Last time I let them off the leash, this time it won't be as noisy. He then stood up and walked away. Calling back, transfer them with me after this is over. You get rid of the security chief and clean up a mess at the same time. Isn't that killing two birds with one stone for you? Kang Yoon-min seemed pleased and immediately agreed to his request. All right, once you take care of the security chief, I'll arrange for your transfer right away. I'll call them over, you just wait a moment. Jim Ho quickly interrupted. No need for that trouble. I'll go see them now. The quiet night at the hospital, the doctor instructed. I'm going to the pharmacy to get sedatives for the patient. I'll be right back. Ji-hun immediately insisted on going. Let me go with you. The doctor refused with a worried face. No, it's fine. You're injured too. Just rest. I'll just be a moment. Seeing this, he suggested, Then let guard Choi Jin-young go with you, she replied to reassure him. Okay. Hearing this, Jin-young turned to look at Ji-hun. You're very casual about ordering people around, huh? Ignoring his rambling. He continued, by the way, if guard Choi Jin-young is already going with you, then I have another favor to ask of you. Both of them now looked at Ji-hun in confusion. While walking, she politely apologized. I'm sorry to bother you, Jin-young replied comfortably. Not at all, I actually had something I wanted to ask. She pressed the elevator button and asked curiously, You wanted to ask something? While waiting for the elevator, he took the chance to speak. I overheard earlier that you seem to be helping the chief. I was curious about the reason. The people sent here aren't exactly good people. This is an exile for those without money or connections. But you don't seem like that kind of person. She replied cautiously before answering. Can I ask you a question too? He quickly replied, Yes, please ask, doctor. She then asked, Why did you choose to follow Section Chief Kang? He stammered, He then frankly admitted it was for money. Hearing this, the doctor was a little surprised. What Jin-young then explained, I'm one of those people without money or connections that I was talking about. He continued as the elevator neared. It's shameful, I know, but I've become Section Chief Kang's lackey here, helping him do wrong things just for payment. After hearing Jin-young's confession, she replied, I see. This time it was her turn to be honest about her reason. I'm looking for someone. He was quite surprised by this. You're looking for someone, doctor. Her cold gaze also made him wary. Someone who is somewhere in this Joxian prison. I'm looking for a murderer. The doctor's expression and eyes were unblinking, cold and soulless. As if remembering, she recalled memories from her childhood. She witnessed a scene that no child should have to endure. Lost in the flow of these memories, she couldn't even hear Jin-young calling her name. These images, actions, and pain from her childhood were things she could never forget. This time Jin Young called out louder. "Doctor," he then grabbed her arm and pulled sharply. As if distracted, she instinctively pushed his hand away. She pushed his hand away, leaving him stunned and bewildered. Seeing this, he started sweating and explained nervously, "You were walking past the pharmacy, so I didn't mean to startle you. I'm sorry." The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. The doctor replied, flustered, "It's okay, I was the one who was distracted." Jin Young quietly followed behind the doctor into the pharmacy room. She said, "Let's get the medicine and go back quickly." The doctor checked the medicine cabinet and realized it wasn't there anymore. She then turned to another door. "Let me check inside." She suddenly stopped as if she sensed something. It was the purple-haired man flying towards her with sharp claws, not letting the doctor get hurt. Jin Young quickly protected her, blocking the purple-haired man's attack. His attack blocked, he frowned in displeasure and asked, "What's this? You're not the security chief." Contrary to the purple-haired man, he was quite surprised and tense. That section chief Kang is truly insane, trying to kill people even in the hospital. Without further ado, the purple-haired man attacked again. Seeing this, Jin Young yelled, "Doctor, get behind me." The purple-haired man looked amused. Well, if things have come to this then. Unable to hide his excitement, he grinned savagely. "I'd rather play with that pretty lady, don't get in my way." He leaped towards the doctor with his large, sharp claws and yelled, "Get out of the way." Caught off guard, Jin Young panicked and couldn't react in time as he looked towards her, calling out, "Doctor." The sharp claws were aimed right at her. She was frozen in place, too shocked to move. Meanwhile, the scarred man was carefully hiding behind a wall, watching and preparing to draw his sharp sword. His face couldn't hide his excitement, and he wore a satisfied smile. On another side, "Hey boss, it's been a while since we've played a game. Want a round?" Hearing the offer, Jim Ho was intrigued. "All right, Hemmer, what are the rules?" He continued simply, "The one who takes down the target first wins." Hemmer looked happy. "I've also thought of a prize for the winner. The mark left on the target this time won't be from the boss, but from the winner." Jim Ho's voice was low. Hemmer, his subordinates, seemed to have a connection. All of them felt a terrifying pressure that made them tremble in fear. They were all sweating profusely, feeling the intense killing intent. Jim Ho's eyes were as sharp as bullets as he stared at him. Terrifyingly so. "Can I take what you just said as a challenge to me, your boss?" Hemmer was now flustered and looked at him in fear. "Haha, I was just kidding, boss. Why do you have to be so scary?" "Not one to be outdone," Jim Ho also replied. "I was just kidding too, so let's play a special round this time. The opponent is a big shot, so the prize has to be generous. Because Chief Han is the one who threw us in here." Their faces were truly terrifying, filled with hatred. The long-haired man was up to his tricks again, holding a cross necklace and weeping, "Amen. The Lord has given us a chance to judge this wicked heretic." Jim Ho instructed with amusement, "I'll join in an hour at sunset, so try your best if you don't want me to steal your prize." A clanking sound on the floor was followed by curses. "Are you scared of him because he's the one who threw us in here? What are you ambushing him for, you cowards?" Hemmer continued to ramble on. Completely unaware that the scarred man was hiding behind a wall not far away, he was also surprised to see him Hemmer. Hemmer held his hammer tightly in excitement. "Real men fight head-on, victory will be mine." After his loud proclamation, he charged forward and smashed the door. "Come at me." Seeing the situation was not good, the long-haired and scarred men revealed themselves, rushing towards Hemmer to stop him, and couldn't help but curse this damn Hemmer. The scarred man drew his sword and charged in. "You dare to make a move first." The long-haired man was yelling, "Brother Hemmer, the Lord said you shall not covet your neighbor's goods." Everything happened in a flash, a loud noise, and a crash. Even before they ran in, they couldn't hear Hemmer's voice anymore. The scarred man felt cautious, his face thoughtful and sweaty. A single blow to take down Hemmer. This power is on par with the boss's. The long-haired man just silently thought, a true blasphemer. Looking at Hemmer's body sprawled out on the tiled floor with a bruised face, a voice suddenly spoke up. "Your hyena group has 6 members, right?" Ji-hun appeared, radiating killing intent. So cold it was terrifying, his body glowing so brightly it was blinding, and in his hand he held Hemmer's hammer. He gave a quick scan and coldly remarked, "Including Jim Ho, there are still 2 missing. Where are the other hyenas?" Without waiting long, the scarred man swung his sword and attacked. "Why do you want to know you're going to die here anyway?" Ji-hun's eyes flashed. "So that means you don't know, huh?" He immediately ducked under the man's attack and quickly swung the hammer in a powerful counter. The man was now terrified and trembling with shock, sweating. "What is this?" Even though he tried to block the blow with his sword, he failed. It was shattered to pieces by Ji-hun's hammer. After that, He turned to ask the long-haired man where are the others, even after witnessing his comrade being taken down right in front of him. He didn't falter. On the contrary, he was very calm as he took off his jacket. Quoting from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing but inwardly are ravenous wolves." Seeing this, Ji-hun quickly noticed and tore off some pieces of cloth from his shirt as he replied, "You psychos haven't changed at all." He used the cloth to wrap tightly around the broken sword from before, getting into position with his new weapon. Ji-hun's face was expressionless. "All right, I'll send you to hell on behalf of the Lord." The long-haired man was no less intimidating. His hands had been ready for a while, and he was eager to fight amen. On another side, the sound of sharp claws scraping against a wall was accompanied by a playful voice. "Pretty lady, where are you hiding? Come out and play with me." He walked while scraping the wall, playing like a predator, while Jin Young was hiding nearby, extremely tense. The doctor looked down at her hand, covering a wound in confusion. "I'm sorry," Jin Young heard her and replied politely. "It's all right." She trembled and clasped her hands together in remorse. "It's my fault." Remembering that moment when the purple-haired man was about to attack the doctor, Jin Young had quickly run out to take the blow for her. His face was haggard and beaded with sweat as if from exhaustion. "It's not your fault that guy is a member of Team H, also known as the Hyenas led by Jim Ho." He continued to explain. "They were former members of a secret special forces unit, but they killed their superior officer and escaped, and were finally captured and imprisoned at Jokshan prison." But Jin Young didn't stop. Even after being imprisoned, they continued to cause trouble, but Jim Ho's transfer became a leash around their necks, forcing them to behave for a while. He looked a little scared, but now the person who caught them has been appointed as a guard, and that person is Chief Han. The entire Team H is definitely targeting the chief. Now he instructed while I distract him. "You need to escape the hospital," she refused, decisively. "No." The doctor looked at him with a matter-of-fact expression. "I have a plan to attack." The purple-haired man frowned with a confused expression. He had found Jin Young's hiding spot. "What's this? Why is it just you? Where's the pretty lady?" He smirked. "You're not my type. Bring out the pretty lady." This purple-haired man was so full of himself he didn't realize the doctor was waiting for him with a weapon from behind. Only then did the purple-haired man realize something was wrong. By the time he realized it, she had sprayed gas from the fire extinguisher all over him, making him extremely flustered. Taking the opportunity, Jin Young charged forward. The purple-haired man wasn't paying attention and just muttered, "Damn, this is annoying. Once I catch her, I'll just kill her." He growled in anger, clenching his teeth. "You think I'm going to let you do that?" However, this purple-haired man was not easy to deal with. He quickly dodged his attack. Not only that, but he also retaliated, launching a ferocious counterattack. Jin Young was caught off guard and couldn't block it in time. The purple-haired man seemed to have gone crazy. His teeth clenched and his eyes wide. "You've been getting on my nerves this whole time." He launched a final blow with a powerful kick to his neck and yelled, "Get the hell out of my sight." Jin Young was completely exhausted after the blows and couldn't stand any longer, not wanting to miss the opportunity. The purple-haired man flew in with a final powerful kick at Jin Young. The attack was so strong that it knocked him down among the rubble. After taking down Jin Young, he quickly found the scared doctor cowering against a wall. "So, you were hiding here," the purple-haired man growled, his eyes bulging and veins popping. "You startled me just now. I can't believe you used a fire extinguisher to blind me." His face turned serious. "I'm starting to get bored." He stared at the doctor's chest. Then he looked down at his own hand. "Let's end this." As soon as he finished speaking, he slashed at the doctor, who was stunned. After that, the purple-haired man left happily. "What a shame. I wanted to play with you a little longer." Suddenly, from behind her, she stabbed him with a syringe, making him confused. He turned around to see he'd been sneak attacked. The purple-haired man was bewildered and scared. "Huh, what the?" The doctor looked at him, trembling on the floor. "I injected you with 20 times the allowed dosage of sedative, so you're going to feel very dizzy." He couldn't believe it. How could you? Remembering what Ji-hun asked Jin Young before they left. "By the way, if Guard Choi Jin Young is already going with you, then I have another favor to ask of you." They both looked at him in confusion. He looked at him. "Just to be safe, you should take it off." The doctor took off her jacket, revealing her real clothes underneath. "Because I changed into Guard Jin Young's bulletproof vest." The purple-haired man trembled in misery on the floor. "You cowards playing tricks with drugs and high-tech equipment." He was immediately stomped on the head. "Shut up." "Back with Jin Young," he said. Luckily, everything went according to the doctor's plan. She replied, "It's thanks to you buying me enough time to find the sedatives. You're hurt badly. Let me give you some first aid. We don't need to. We have to find the chief quickly, before the hyenas get here." As soon as he finished speaking, Jim Ho saw them. His gaze was terrifying. A feeling of being crushed by him found you. The corridor was completely empty, not a single person in sight. Ji-hun was fighting the long-haired man alone. He relentlessly attacked him while chanting, "Believe in the Lord and go to heaven." The two swords clashed. "Disbelieve and go to hell!" The long-haired man continued his assault. "You, a heretic, dare to say you'll send me to hell? Just try it." He paused as if he realized something. Seeing this, the long-haired man grew smug. "It seems you still have the mind to be careless, huh?" Ji-hun quickly dodged his attack again. His sudden dodge. Seeing this, the long-haired man grew even more smug. "How long are you going to dodge like a little mouse? That Holy Spirit's knife in my hand seems to be making you quite wary, huh?" He looked down at the sword in his hand. "You're using a kukri, with a forward curving blade that's specialized for chopping, but that's also why your attack and defense speed isn't very fast. You've compensated for that weakness by using two knives." Ji-hun's words hit home, making him look flustered. He glanced up at him nonchalantly. "But I'm quite curious if that blade of yours can even touch a single hair on my head." His hand tightened on the sword. The man's face flushed with anger as if he'd been exposed, his eyes bulging and his teeth clenched. He then swung his sword in a counterattack against the long-haired man. He gripped the man's hand tightly. He swiped his cheek, leaving a large gash, and cutting off a few strands of hair in front of the man's terrified face. Ji-hun, on the other hand, was very calm. "On the contrary, I think your hair is a bit long." The long-haired man gritted his teeth. You bastard!" He flew into a rage, his face contorted as he screamed, "You dare my precious hair!" Like a madman, he charged at him. "You servant of Satan, I will kill you." Ji-hun smirked. "It seems you're not very pleased, huh?" Without waiting, he threw a punch at his face. "But I don't give refunds, so get lost." After taking a hard blow to the face, the man thought angrily, "This bastard, he's toying with me. How could I have forgotten this son of a bitch?" He watched Ji-hun raise another fist towards him. On the battlefield, he is the very embodiment of Asura. After another massive blow, the long-haired man finally realized he couldn't win on his own. "I'm going to die watching another blow coming at him." He was now completely terrified. Luckily, the long-haired man dodged the blow and tried to flee. Damn it. His eyes as sharp as a hawk, he warned, "You can't escape." He could only yell for his comrades. "The target's over here, get over here now." Ji-hun quickly approached the terrified long-haired man. "You think I'll let you just scream like that?" Suddenly, a loud noise came as the wall next to them cracked and began to crumble. He glanced over in surprise. Immediately, the long-haired man was sent flying, looking to be in great pain. Like a giant, he broke through the wall and flew past Ji-hun's face. Witnessing the scene before him, he couldn't help but be impressed what terrifying power he punched through both the wall and his comrade. Even Ji-hun was stunned, not expecting such strength. Before him was an incredibly terrifying giant, and what's more, he was carrying two people. They looked to be severely injured. He quickly recognized guard Choi Jin-young. The other person was none other than So-hee. Rambo muttered, "Long hair passed out. The target's here. I didn't quite hear." The man knelt and called to the unconscious man on the floor. "Long hair, wake up." While he was distracted, Ji-hun took the opportunity to charge. He rushed forward and stabbed the man in the back with a knife. However, the man didn't seem to feel any pain, and even ignored the stab. Rambo just growled, "Is it you, the bad guy who bullied my friend?" He then angrily attacked him. "I can't underestimate this guy," he thought silently. "I've already deflected it, but his strength is still this strong. But at least I've succeeded in drawing his attention to me." Rambo cried and gritted his teeth. "Anyone who hurts my friends is a bad person. If I take care of the bad people, the boss will praise me," Ji-hun calmly deduced. Extraordinary physical abilities but low intelligence, he's very similar to one of Professor Yu's henchmen. Rambo seemed to have gone mad, and he lost his composure and roared loudly. He relentlessly attacked him with his bare hands. While fighting Rambo, he had to think of the best strategy. Dodging his attacks wasn't difficult, but each one was a threat. His face hardened and he frowned. "If I can just make him pause for even a moment." Rambo's whole body slammed into the wall after his failed attack. Ji-hun quickly glanced to the side. He looked at Jin-young and the doctor lying on the floor with worry. "This is dangerous. I barely managed to draw his attention to me. If I'm not careful, they'll be dragged into this again." "The distance," he said as Rambo suddenly rushed at him, surprising him. He blocked the giant's large body with his hands. He gritted his teeth to endure the pain. He tried to hold back the giant's push. The push was so strong that Ji-hun's feet quickly slid near the doctor's face. He finally stopped just before hitting the doctor's face. He was bewildered and still didn't understand what was happening. Then he suddenly realized guard Choi Jin-young. He had quickly supported his back despite his own injuries. His face was now determined, frowning and gritting his teeth to support Ji-hun as much as possible. Going back 5 minutes, Jin-young exclaimed, "Lucky that everything went according to the doctor's plan." So, he patted his shoulder and replied, "It's thanks to you buying me enough time to find the sedatives. You're hurt badly. Let me give you some first aid." Jin-young felt his wound wasn't serious and refused. "We don't need to. We have to find the chief quickly," he said with a hint of anxiety. Before those hyenas show up, as he finished speaking, Rambo suddenly appeared. His eyes glowed like a nocturnal predator. "Found you?" He immediately pushed her away. "Doctor, watch out." Rambo grabbed Jin-young's head with his large hand. He squeezed tightly, making it hard for him to breathe. He slammed Jin-young's head into the wall. Rambo repeatedly slammed his head against the wall like a basketball. Seeing this, So-hee cried out in panic, "Jin-young, I must have lost too much blood, and my consciousness is starting to fade. I have to hold on, even if it costs me my life." The scene shifts to the present. Ji-hun has arrived. He saw Jin-young's battered state. He asked with concern, "You got beat up pretty badly, huh? Can you still stand?" He answered with labored breaths, "I'm still holding on," looking at her unconscious on the floor. Jin-young said worriedly, "But Dr. So-hee." Ji-hun reassured him it's all right. At that moment, the man charged at him with a fist. Roaring mission, anyone who gets in the way is a bad person. Since Rambo had to be dealt with first, he had to say, "We'll deal with that after we take this guy down." He rushed forward to block the man's attack, signaling now is the time. He then took the opportunity to jump forward from behind, saying with a somewhat annoyed face, "Even if you're intellectually disabled, you still know what pain is right." Rambo roared like a wild beast, "You villain." Ji-hun attacked as if his hand was a blade, slashing down on the man's body. Rambo roared in pain, "You villain. You have to kill them all." He felt this guy was a tough one. Ji-hun nimbly dodged Rambo's sledgehammer-like punch, and at the same time realized, "Because of your muscles, my blade can't penetrate deep enough, huh?" Rambo continued to attack relentlessly. He attacked non-stop without rest. Ji-hun had to use that move, whispering to himself in that case. He slashed his hand all over the giant's body. Ji-hun said coldly, "If your muscles are tough, then I just need to cut your tendons." The man screamed in agony. Rambo stubbornly charged forward, screaming, "If I can't take care of the target, the boss will kill me." He shouted in exasperation, "This guy just doesn't know when to quit." Ji-hun immediately cut his leg tendon and said sarcastically, "Can the fear instilled by Jim Ho make you move to this extent?" He stood before Rambo like a demon and said, "Don't worry." He looked at the man with a cold, sharp gaze and warned, "Your boss is about to be taught a lesson by me." He then slapped Rambo a few times in the face and said, "You won't get scolded." Immediately after that, the man lay unconscious on the floor. After a quick check of So-hee, Ji-hun sighed in relief and said, "No serious injuries, just a few scratches." He expressed his gratitude. "It's all thanks to you. Thank you, guard Choi Jin-young." Jin-young was tying up the unconscious Rambo and replied, "Not at all," looking at his battered state. Ji-hun said, "It's not very convincing when you say that, with a face full of blood." He chuckled and said teasingly, "If I were the only one unharmed, would you have let me be, so I had to get a little hurt to feel at ease?" He picked up his weapon and turned to leave, not forgetting to ask Jin-young for a favor. "Well, anyway, please tie these guys up for me." He asked curiously, "Where are you going?" Suddenly, Ji-hun fell into deep thought. He remembered the past. Ji-hun asked worriedly, "Is Sister So-hee okay?" Ji-hun replied softly, "The doctor said it's not life-threatening, so let's wait and see." Suddenly, the little girl made a suggestion. "Brother, promise me one thing." He was curious, "What is it?" Ji-hun said sincerely, "Let's protect her together in the future so she doesn't get hurt again." Ji-hun replied confidently, "All right, I promise." But in the present, he had failed to keep his promise. Ji-hun felt very guilty. "I'm sorry, Ji-hun." He walked away with a determined look in his eyes, promising himself, "I will never break a promise again." Somewhere else, Jim Ho was stroking his hair. With a smug smirk, "They must have decided the winner by now, huh?" He walked towards the stairs and silently mocked himself. "Don't tell me our great security chief was taken down by those brats." Ji-hun had been waiting for Jim Ho on the stairs for a while. As soon as he saw him, he spoke with a serious tone. "You finally came. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Jim Ho wasn't surprised at all, on the contrary. He found it amusing. Jim Ho walked up the stairs towards Ji-hun. What can I say? I guess I worried for nothing. He was a little curious and said, "But I have to say I'm surprised. How did you know I would be here?" He took out a piece of paper and replied. There was a piece of paper in Rambo's pocket. Ji-hun's face darkened and he growled. I was wondering how a guy with the intelligence of a child could find my exact location. It turns out this paper even states the floor of the infirmary. Jim-ho deduced, "You were planning to use the hyenas to wear me down and then come finish me off along the path that Rambo cleared right." He rushed up the stairs and roared, "You knew that and you still waited for me here. Impressive." He picked up his weapon and muttered, "Well, everything went according to his plan. I'm exhausted. If I prolong this fight, the 2 injured people will be in danger." Ji-hun nimbly blocked his attack. He pushed Jim-ho away with all his might. He felt that this push was a bit different. "Your strength seems weaker than before, huh?" Jim-ho said mockingly. "You must be very tired, right?" He charged again and jeered. "Compared to your tough talk earlier, you're being a bit too cautious." Ji-hun silently drew another knife from behind him and muttered cautiously, "Huh." He launched a counterattack, breaking the man's knife in one blow, and exclaimed, "In this situation, they would usually call it. They would call it luring the enemy." Jim-ho panicked for a moment and muttered, "If I had taken another step, my wrist would have been severed," he wondered. Does he still have the strength to do this? No. It looks like he's going all out to end this fight quickly. In that case, suddenly Jim-ho suggested, "You can stop now." Hearing this, Ji-hun was a bit confused. What? He explained, "I'm not trying to kill you because I have a grudge against you, and I also feel like I'm being played by that section chief Kang, so let's stop fighting. What do you think about us teaming up?" Jim-ho, still thinking about his own benefit first, gave him a piece of information that shocked him. "I'm not saying we'll team up for free because I just heard some information that you might want to know from Section Chief Kang. It's about Seo Min-jun, I believe." After saying that, he silently observed his reaction. "Now let's see how you react." Ji-hun walked down the stairs, stroking the blade of his knife, and said, "If it's information you heard from Section Chief Kang, then I'd rather hear it from him directly after I defeat you." Jim-ho reached behind him to grab something and pretended to click his tongue to distract him. "Really, I figured you'd say that." As he stood in front of Jim-ho, he started to whisper, "What a shame this is information I thought you'd really like, for example, the fact that Seo Min-jun is still alive." Hearing this, Ji-hun was in disbelief and exclaimed, "What?" He angrily swung his knife at Jim-ho and roared, "Say that again!" He pulled out a gun and said smugly, "Too late, you should have asked earlier." Jim-ho began to pull the trigger. He had fired multiple shots at him. Jin-young was in the control room after a bit of checking. He confirmed, "Just as I thought, it's like this here too." Jin-young held the destroyed wires and complained, "The internet and phone lines are all cut. Rambo's punch shattered my phone too. How am I supposed to call for an escort?" He left the room feeling helpless. Jin-young felt something was wrong and muttered, "Did those hyenas do this? No, that doesn't seem right." He remembered the situation and silently analyzed it. All of them had gathered to chase after us, and they attacked as soon as they reached the hospital, so it can't be them. Jin-young deduced that someone had cut all the communication lines while the 2 sides were fighting. What was his purpose? He began to feel more anxious and muttered, "Whatever it is, if the chief can't defeat Jim-ho, we'll all be considered dead here." "Please win, chief." As soon as Jin-young left, someone seemed to be watching from behind the wall. A figure in a cloak was silently observing everyone's every move. A long line of defeated prisoners were tied up, while all of them were unconscious. After some time, Hemmer suddenly woke up. He growled in frustration, "Damn it, how long have I been out?" Scarface, who woke up earlier, heard the mumbling and said, "You're awake, huh?" Hemmer jumped and yelled, "What? Who is it?" He was beaten up with a swollen face. He lifted his head and said, "It's me, Hemmer." Seeing Scarface's deformed face, he couldn't help but laugh out loud and jeered, "What's with your face? It looks like a rag. Can you even see?" Hearing this, he angrily yelled, "You were the first one to be taken down, and you're talking like that? How ridiculous, everything ended while you were unconscious." Hearing this, Hemmer was in disbelief and asked, "What everything you mean? Even Rambo was taken down by that chief guy." Scarface replied, "Yeah, Rambo is down too. By now that guy and the boss are probably fighting." He was curious. "Are you scared the boss will lose?" he said confidently. "Dream on, it's the boss." Hemmer analyzed Jim-ho's fighting abilities. "It's not just because he's strong that he became our boss. If there's no gun, he'll use a knife. If there's no knife, he'll use his teeth, he'll hunt his target to the end, and relentlessly attack his opponent's weak spots." He compared the man to a hyena facing Ji-hun, a wild wolf. "That chief guy will become the prey hunted by our boss." After being surprised with a few bullets from Jim-ho, he had tried his best to dodge them but was still grazed in a few places. He picked up the gun and said mockingly, "Is it because I haven't used it in a while? My shooting skills seem to have rusted a bit." Jim Ho gave a grotesque smile and exclaimed, "At this point, I'm starting to get curious. A guy of your level being swayed by a few words." He asked curiously, "Was Seo Min Jun your lover or something?" Unfortunately, one of the bullets had injured Ji-hun's side. Seeing the wound bleeding heavily, he started to feel worried. Jim Ho walked up the stairs, the sound of bullet casings clattering to the ground as his voice echoed eerily. "Well, anyway, with this, our hunt for the security chief." Jim Ho pointed the gun at him and said, "I declare that it ends here." Seeing his chance, before he could pull the trigger, Ji-hun was one step ahead and threw his knife at Jim Ho. The knife hit Jim Ho's hand, making the gun fly out. He yelled in surprise, "Damn it." Only then did Jim Ho realize his plan, and he gritted his teeth in anger. He pretended to fall, and then lunged forward at the same time as the knife. This guy is insane. Ji-hun took advantage of him being unarmed and launched a continuous barrage of attacks, although Jim Ho dodged them all. But he still didn't hesitate to throw a powerful kick at him. After blocking the kick, Jim Ho muttered, "That was a strong kick." Ji-hun's kick made him lose his. He couldn't keep his balance and fell down the stairs. Unfortunately, he let Jim Ho fall right next to the gun. He quickly lunged for the gun and roared, "Now your stubbornness is starting to disgust me." But he was a step too slow. The gun was kicked away by Ji-hun. Jim Ho had to switch to close combat, and he didn't forget to jeer, "It seems the bullet you ate was quite spicy, huh?" He twisted his body, putting all his strength into a powerful punch, "The one who threw us in here. You arrogant wolf." He was now getting exhausted and had to use both hands to block the blow. Jim Ho sneered with a mocking tone, "Why have you lost all your teeth and claws and are acting like a street dog about to be eaten?" He sneered and said sarcastically, "Well, either way, you've disappointed me." He took off his outer jacket and pressed it against his wound to stop the bleeding, suddenly admitting, "You're right. Maybe I have lost a few teeth and claws." Ji-hun gripped his knife tightly and said confidently, "But that's no reason for you to win." Jim Ho picked up the knife that he threw earlier and sneered, "Your face looks like you're about to die." He charged forward and roared, "But your mouth is still quite sharp." Seeing Ji-hun struggle to block his attack, Jim Ho said, "Fighting directly with knives like this, I can feel it more clearly." He smiled smugly when he realized, "That bastard's stamina is long gone, it's over." Suddenly the knife in Jim Ho's hand shattered before his eyes. The knife! How did my knife suddenly shatter? Suddenly Jim Ho remembered when he used his knife to block his bullets. Could it have been cracked since then? So that bastard knew about it and deliberately lured me into a knife fight. He was sure Ji-hun was exhausted and fearlessly attacked him. So what? Now you can't dodge and you can't even hold a knife. At this moment Ji-hun's vision began to blur. I must have lost too much blood. He felt everything start to go dark and muttered, "Because of the blood loss, my vision." Suddenly the sound of a gunshot echoed. Ji-hun was startled and confused, and Jim Ho was lying motionless on the floor. He was so exhausted he couldn't stand, and collapsed, remembering that this had happened before, but those hyenas had all been subdued. Ji-hun vaguely guessed. Did Section Chief Kang send someone again? The masked man carrying him suddenly said, "You just need to let me take him. If you take Jim Ho, then nothing will happen." Hearing this, he tried to stop them and yelled who allowed it. Ji-hun swiped his hand at his face and roared, "You think I'll just let you take him?" When he saw the familiar eyes, he froze and uttered, "What is this?" "You, Seo Min Jun." The masked man didn't hesitate. He gave him a powerful kick. The kick sent Ji-hun sprawling to the ground. He clutched his stomach wound, his breathing weak as he said, "Hey, where are you going?" Ji-hun reached out his hand and whispered, "Wait a minute." His vision blurred and he started to lose consciousness. "I said stop, damn it." And so a little while later at the hospital, so he turned to worry about Ji-hun and cried out, "Ji-hun, how did you get up so quickly? You can't get better if you keep doing this." Ji-hun had regained consciousness and left his hospital bed. He quickly put on his guard uniform and asked, "What's the situation?" She stood with her hands on her hips in annoyance. "That's not as important as you getting some rest." At the same time, Jin Young was in the room. He said the chief was in bed for about a day, during which time Section Chief Kang sent his men to hunt down Jim Ho. He adjusted his buttons and nodded, "I understand, Guard Choi, you stay here with So-hee." Suddenly, So-hee asked, "Ji-hun, wait a minute. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that Ji-hun seems even more impatient than last time." Even Jin Young noticed this issue. The scene shifts to another area of the prison. Ji-hun walked coldly into the inmates' living quarters. He was amused to see some young thugs causing a commotion, and noticed it's quite noisy today, huh? The brown-haired man was throwing a tantrum, punching the long-haired man to the floor. The scene unfolded right in front of Ji-hun. The others tried to intervene but failed. At that moment, a man came from behind with a board. I answered you nicely. Why did you sneak attack me and try to pull this dirty trick, huh? That bastard then hit him hard on the back of the neck. The man growled in anger. You're just like a bunch of damn criminals. Watch your mouth, don't curse. He was furious and pulled the other guy's hair back. How the hell could Professor Yu be dead? You're the one who told that ridiculous lie. That's why you got your ass beat after saying that the brown-haired man head-butted him directly. After dealing with him, he let go of his head. You should have just answered the questions properly. Why did you have to lie? Suddenly a fist appeared from his left. And you're a real lunatic, huh? It turned out to be Ji-hun. He had appeared out of nowhere. He hit the brown-haired man directly on the head without holding back, making him spit out a mouthful of blood. And curse what the hell, a lunatic. Ji-hun moved past another guard and said, let me handle this, you guys back off. Now it was just him and the brown-haired man. He yelled angrily, who the hell are you now? He looked him up and down and judged your muscles look pretty tough. But it looks like your head is completely broken. He charged forward like a beast. What did you say, you rotten guard? But before he could do anything, Ji-hun gave him a blow to the jaw. I'm a little busy right now, I'll talk to you later. Put this guy in solitary confinement. Suddenly the brown-haired man still had the strength to charge forward. He was about to deliver a fatal blow to his head. But it wasn't that easy. Ji-hun quickly dodged to the side and thought to himself, that's a surprise. I didn't expect him to take 2 direct hits from me. That's some impressive durability. As he thought, he nimbly dodged his attacks. But isn't he a little too excited? His attacks are too simple. Ji-hun muttered. In that case, I just need to do this. He grabbed his injured arm with his right hand and then slammed him to the ground. It's that easy to restrain him. Ji-hun didn't forget to kick him in the head for not listening. After that, he dusted himself off and left, letting the others restrain him. I'll handle his punishment personally. You guys just take him to solitary. That guy's pretty tough. A little while later at the office. Come in, the warden asked nervously. Chief Han, are you all right? Ji-hun saluted and replied, yes, I'm fine. Kang Yun-min spoke up. Chief, he smiled cunningly. You worked hard to stop the prison break this time, but I heard you let Jim Ho escape. Ji-hun looked at him and replied, I'll go and bring him back right away. Suddenly something on his hip caught Ji-hun's attention. By the way, Section Chief Kang, it seems you've changed your gun. Kang Yun-min gave a forced smile. I just took the old one in for repairs. He was thoughtful, his face expressionless. I see, I just asked because I was worried you might have lost it. Well then, I have something to do, so I'll be leaving now. Seeing Ji-hun leave, the warden said you can go. Only then did Kang Yun-min relax and say to him, Warden, leave only a minimum number of guards to guard the prison, and mobilize everyone else to search for Jim Ho. Hearing this, he was a bit hesitant. With only a minimum number, we won't have enough to manage the inmates. Warden, he growled in a threatening tone. Then he completely changed his demeanor, his face like a rabid dog as he screamed, instead of wasting time worrying about such trivial things, you should use every means possible to find that guy for me right now. He cowered in a corner. Yes, I understand. Kang Yun-min was furious. We have to find him at all costs. Because of him, not just me, but even the warden could be killed. The warden trembled. I know Kang Yun-min tried to stay rational, Han Ji-hun. Don't feel safe just because you were lucky to survive this time. I still have cards to play, and they're still there somewhere in the dark. A lone figure in the room was calmly peeling something strange with a knife. The scene shifts to a certain cell. Number 1688 Kim Kang-min. Ji-hun stood before the cell and asked. Before I came here, I heard a bit about you from an inmate in your cell. The man's face turned pale and he cried out, I really didn't do anything. That guy just suddenly attacked me. He asked me about Professor Yu and the chief. I answered him very politely. The 3 men were all kneeling with their foreheads on the ground in repentance. Ji-hun glared. About me and Professor Yu. He was scared. Yes, that's all. Later, Ji-hun moved to another location. He had something he wanted to ask the brown-haired man. Professor Yu's death seems to have been a big shock to you. Have you calmed down now? He replied angrily. I can't believe you're that security chief. If Professor Yu is really dead, then the rumor that you're the one who killed Professor Yu is probably true too. I have nothing to say to you. Get out of here, he growled. Number 1688, Kim Kang-min. You were indicted for murder and sentenced to 25 years in the first trial. After dropping your appeal, you were quickly sent to Jokshan prison. The number of inmates in Jokshan prison who were imprisoned in a similar or identical way as you is about half. Hearing this, he broke out in a cold sweat. So what, aren't you the same way? If I said I was innocent, would you let me out? Ji-hun whispered to Kang-min. Yes, if you cooperate with me, even if you are guilty, I will help you get out of here. Seeing this offer, he was a little hesitant. At that moment, there was the sound of many doors opening. Ji-hun looked down the quiet corridor. What's going on now? As soon as Ji-hun left, a confused and curious Kang-min stood up and went outside. I haven't even answered yet. Are you just going to open the door for me like that? He stood motionless and said, it wasn't me who opened the door for you. Looking at the rabid dogs around him being freely let out, he could only smile wryly. That guy doesn't know when to quit, huh? To even come up with such a fun game. To briefly introduce the isolated Jokshan prison, due to the harsh and unusual weather and tides around the island. A prison built on such an isolated island would have almost no visitors. Because of this, it is home to hard-to-manage inmates from all over the country, and the inmates themselves call this place a waste disposal facility. And this is where a group of once again screened inmates are gathered, from the already carefully selected inmates, from before at Jokshan Prison's solitary confinement. The inmates armed with weapons were excited. It's finally starting, huh? I've been waiting for this for so long. Facing these rabid dogs, Ji-hun was completely unfazed. These bastards knew the door would open. Was Kim Kang-min a bait, or was it from the very beginning? He turned to Kang-min and said, too many people are crashing our conversation. We'll talk later. I'm heading to the central control room now. Follow me. A confused Kang-min yelled. Wait a minute, what right do you have to order me around? I haven't even agreed to be on your side, but Ji-hun didn't care and took the lead, punching them one by one. But Kang-min was still flustered. Besides, what the hell is a central control room? Looking at his handcuffs number 8, he grew even more frustrated. Hey, at least take this off for me first. Ji-hun placed all his trust in Kang-min and said, I'm counting on you for this one, buddy. He then quickly darted out of the room. That bastard Kang-min could only hate himself for not being able to give him a sweet punch at that moment. After Ji-hun left, the rabid dogs started targeting Kang-min. He glanced around repeatedly. What am I supposed to do if you just leave like that? At that moment, the long-haired leader approached. Who's this punk? Why don't you get the hell out of here? Kang-min's face fell. All right, I was already in a bad mood to begin with. Come on, fight me, come at me. He put on a face that was asking for a beating. At that moment, on Ji-hun's side, he was trying to escape to the end of the road, but was blocked by the others. He's over there, get him. That's him. Ji-hun wondered. Are all the solitary confinement doors open now? They're openly trying to kill me. There should have been a guard in the central control room. Or is he also one of Section Chief Kang's men? The rabid cats rushed forward aggressively. This bastard's head is worth 100 million won. Get out of the way, he's mine. The bounty. So that's why you're all targeting me. He angrily grabbed the first guy's head. Then he slammed his face into the floor. Now they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Their actions are getting more and more careless. At the same time, another rabid cat from behind was about to sneak attack. Immediately, Ji-hun slammed his elbow into his jaw. Then he darted away. That bastard, get him, he thought to himself before all the inmates in this area reached the central passage. I need to quickly check the situation. Surround him, don't let him escape. They frantically rushed to attack him. Ji-hun skillfully used both arms and delivered a blow to each side. He then quickly moved towards the door. Suddenly, a horrifying sight appeared before him, making him stop in his tracks. Inside the door was a guard who had been beaten to death. He looked at the gruesome wounds on his body. He couldn't help but be shocked. At that moment, the others caught up from outside. You ran and hid so much, but in the end, you were cornered by us. You ran into a dead end yourself. Kill him quickly and then deal with the rest. Ji-hun ignored the commotion behind him and removed the ropes from the victim. He then used a nearby cloth to cover the body. They were having fun and enjoying themselves. It's been a while since I've seen such a morbid scene. I agree, I'll only ask once. His voice turned cold, and the blood started rushing to his head. Where is he, the bastard who did this? On Kang-min's side. Since he couldn't use his hands, he used his head to fight. The blonde-haired man clutched his head. Ouch, my head. Before the man could make a move, Kang-min kicked him squarely in the shin, causing his leg bone to snap out of place. The scarred man, seeing this, charged forward. Damn it. Fall down, you bastard. He then kicked him in the stomach. Kang-min ducked to avoid the damage. With a look of contempt, is that it? Suddenly from behind, another man used a wooden club to hit him on the head. Not yet, you bastard. The blow made his head feel like it was about to explode. Seeing this, they asked each other, did we hit a weak spot? Did we take care of that disgusting bastard? But unexpectedly, after the recent impact, Kang-min was completely unharmed and instead retaliated with a gentle kick to his cheek. Damn it, after finishing that guy! He turned his foot to the next one. Without hesitation, he spun 360 degrees and kicked him squarely in his turtleneck. This guy's head is really hard, Kang Min could only sigh. You guys keep cursing during a fight, it's really annoying. Central control room, huh? All right, let's try going there. He then quickly slipped away. Halfway there, he couldn't help but curse. That bastard Han Ji-hun, even if the enemy is numerous, you shouldn't have sold me out. I can't trust a scumbag like him. I'll just pretend he never talked to me. After arriving at his destination, he looked at the scene before him and exclaimed, "Did he take care of all these people by himself? This isn't just being good at fighting anymore. He's a madman who's obsessed with fighting." Ji-hun's gaze was far away. Kang Min, you're later than I thought." Kang Min shuffled in. With a disgruntled tone, if I wasn't handcuffed, I would have been done a long time ago. He asked, "I heard from them that you have a bounty on you, huh?" Ji-hun glanced to the side and replied, "Probably, but it seems they don't know where the mastermind is." Looking at the mess in front of him, he continued, "All the inmates in the solitary confinement should have been released, but the number that appeared is too small compared to the total number of inmates here." He then pointed to the other side. "The 2 blocks in the back are the only 2 places where no inmates have come out. So, in one of those 2 places, even if it's not the mastermind, there's at least one of his henchmen hiding to watch." "Hey," Kang Min asked curiously, "where are you going if you're going to push this on me and run away again?" Then Ji-hun cut him off. "No, this time we're going together first. Let's go to the right block first." Ji-hun led the way with a club, cautiously. "We're going in right away," Kang Min said annoyedly. "Don't order me around." Without saying much when they arrived, Ji-hun silently tried not to make a sound. He gripped the club tightly, his veins bulging. He then gently opened the door to the room. It turned out that inside were all the beefy guys who had fought Ji-hun in previous chapters. Scarface exclaimed in surprise. "Han Ji-hun," he said in a cold voice. "You're the final boss, huh?" Once again, Ji-hun wanted to confirm. "Damn it, that must be the final boss, Hemmer." Seeing him, he stood up aggressively. "Han Ji-hun, you bastard! What did you do to our boss?" He then charged forward with a punch. "Hey, what do you mean by that?" Ji-hun said as he dodged to the side, causing Hemmer to hit Kang Min squarely on the head. He glared at him. "The guards have turned this place upside down, but still can't find our boss, don't tell me you." After a moment of hesitation, Ji-hun finally answered, "Well, it makes sense that they couldn't find him. But I'm pretty sure he's still alive for now." Kang Min was caught in the crossfire, and his face was a mess. Hemmer was furious. "What are you blabbering about?" At that moment, Scarface approached and put a hand on his shoulder to calm him down. "Han Ji-hun, be clear, what do you mean by that?" The pathetic Kang Min interjected. "Wait a minute before you guys talk. I think I should get an apology first, right?" Ji-hun glanced at him and said, Kang Min, stay where you are." Hemmer couldn't tell left from right, punching an innocent person and still being aggressive. "Who are you, punk? What did you just say? Huh, you don't know who I am." Scarface tried to intervene. "Calm down, Hemmer. We need to talk this out calmly." Kang Min couldn't take it anymore and his blood boiled. What a punk, huh? He then used all his strength to break the handcuffs. He charged at him, ready for a fight to the death. "Can't you talk properly? You'll die if you do, huh?" Hemmer was not one to back down either. "You want to make me talk politely." But before they could clash, something happened. The 2 of them were beaten up from both sides. Kang Min's head was slammed into the wall while Hemmer's was smashed into the ground. It was none other than Ji-hun and Scarface who did this. Ji-hun warned, "I told you to stay where you are." Scarface also began to scowl. "Hemmer, information is the most important thing. Calm down a bit." Seeing the situation gradually improving, he let go of Hemmer's head. "If we don't have our boss, our trip to paradise will be for nothing. You want that?" He struggled to his knees and said, "That can't happen." Hearing this, Ji-hun couldn't help but be curious. "Paradise? Are you talking about the place that Jim Ho was dying to get transferred to?" Scarface explained. I didn't want to answer, but hey, let's take turns answering each other's questions. "What do you think?" He replied, "All right." He then asked a question. "Our side goes first. What happened to our boss?" Ji-hun tilted his head. "He was kidnapped." What the hell? Scarface was speechless. It was Ji-hun's turn to ask, "Now it's my turn, right?" Scarface was confused. Wait a minute, are you serious? You want us to believe that ridiculous story that our boss was kidnapped?" Long Hair approached Scarface and whispered, "Sir, why are you standing here listening to the devil's words?" Purple Hair also chimed in, "Let's just kill him already." He hesitated. Kukri, calm down a bit. Kukri glared at Ji-hun in frustration. "No matter how you look at it, he's clearly lying. Let's just kill him and take his body to Section Chief Kang." Scarface intervened. "No. If his words are true, it would explain the current situation, wouldn't it? Besides, if our boss isn't here, then killing him would be pointless. It would be like doing Section Chief Kang a favor for free. Ji-hun was getting annoyed and said, "Stop your rambling and you'd better answer my question quickly." Scarface had to answer. "That's right, you asked what paradise is, right? We were only given the minimum amount of information. Only our boss knows the specific details, but our boss said to think of it as a criminal's den, where we don't have to worry about food and money. That's all he said. He also said if you want to know more, just go and see for yourself. But I think it's not just a place with a comfortable life, because it's a place our boss was willing to give up his throne at Jokshan prison for." Ji-hun pressed on. "Is that it? No information about its specific location or anything else?" He replied, "No, compared to your shallow answer, I've already told you too much." At that moment, Kang Min was curious and looked into another room and called him over. "Han Ji-hun, you have to see this." Ji-hun hesitated. "What is this?" He looked at the mess and asked, "Are these the inmates from this block?" Scarface approached and said, "There are a few more in the other rooms. They suddenly attacked us, so we took care of them all. You don't even need to ask. It's clearly the work of Section Chief Kang." Suddenly, the young man realized something was wrong. He snapped, "You bastard, you just asked 2 questions in a row." Ji-hun ignored him and changed the subject. "The reason most of the guards are absent right now is probably because they were all sent to search for Jim Ho. I don't need to tell you, but you guys probably already know why they're going all out to find him, right?" Scarface gradually realized to silence him, just like they did to us. Ji-hun's blood boiled. "Yeah, as soon as they find Jim Ho, he'll definitely be shot dead." While they were talking, something suddenly flew towards them like a bolt of lightning. The scene shifts to a quiet cell, the sound of someone thinking, "What should I do about this?" He held a wooden carving in his hand and talked to himself. Right now, Section Chief Kang's side has the upper hand. The other hand also held another piece. "But the other side is too dangerous. I'll just act according to the instructions I've been given." The man's 2 faces gradually became clear. "Should I follow the new force, huh? What a dilemma." Suddenly he clenched his fists and hesitated. "I don't know. First, I'll observe the situation for a bit and then decide." His tone was mocking. "All right, everyone, gather all the remaining men here. Then go and take care of him for me right away." Looking closely at the crushed wooden carving, it became clear that it was a representation of Ji-hun. On another side, Jim Ho said, "What is this? Where the hell am I seeing that his situation was not looking good? And he was even tied up." He yelled in frustration, "What the hell is this thing wrapped around my hands?" In front of him was a stranger, completely covered. "You're awake, huh?" He looked at him with disgust. Towards him, "I've been waiting for you." Jim Ho clicked his tongue and asked, "Who are you?" The stranger said, "Ban, I'm not one of Section Chief Kang's men, so you don't need to be so guarded." Hearing this, he was about to go crazy. "After you untie me and show your face, you should say those words. You're all covered up, so of course I'm guarded." He hesitated for a moment and then decided, "You're right. Let me introduce myself properly." He then quickly took off his mask. He rubbed his head. "Nice to meet you, I'm Seo Min-jun." Hearing this name, the man couldn't help but wonder, Seo Min-jun, isn't he the guy Han Ji-hun is looking for? But why the hell did you have to kidnap me and bring me here? What do you want from me? Min-jun gestured for him to be quiet. "Don't be so loud, I hope you won't make a scene. This place may be a bit remote, but it'll be troublesome if we get discovered. Besides, if you get caught now, you'll be in trouble too, you know that." He continued, "And I didn't bring you here for any big reason. I just have one thing I want to ask of you, Jim Ho, just one thing." Min-jun's eyes were sharp as he repeated, "You'll listen, won't you?" The man was confused. "A proposal," he replied. "Yes, this is a proposal." "Take it." He then threw the bottle to Jim Ho. "It's an IV drip. I've given you first aid, but that's not enough. Drink it and listen to me. It's up to you whether you know about me or not. But I'm a dead man now, so I don't want to show myself anymore. My original plan was to be carried out with Professor Yu, but I couldn't contact him, and when I went to check, I found a complete mess." Jim Ho grumbled, "So long-winded, I don't care about your story. You're being too noisy. Quickly untie these chains for me." He asked curiously, "Will you be all right then? Anything that happens on the island must not get out." "You know that very well too." Jim Ho cut him off. "Enough. I understand your point. Now tell me what you want," Min-jun said directly. "Go to paradise in my place." The man was amused and smirked. "I should thank you for letting me go in your place." "Right now, how long are you planning to hide like this?" He glanced to the side. "Wait a moment. The invited guests haven't all arrived yet." The scene shifts. Scarface was quick on his feet and noticed the danger, even before Ji-hun, who was busy talking. He spun around and delivered a blow to the big guy's temple. Ji-hun was confused. "Is it really necessary to fight in this posture?" he roared. "It's a habit. What do you think making high-level personnel like us clean up after some low-level guards?" He sneered. If you don't like it, then leave, because even if I'm alone, I'll clean up and find Jim Ho. Scarface, when did I say I didn't like it? Don't you see we're helping more than anyone else on the other side? The rest were also struggling, Kukri said, annoyed. We only had to fight because those bastards suddenly attacked, but anyone who looks would think we're Han Ji-hun's lackeys. On Kukri's side, he was sniffing and said, just this once, let's turn a blind eye to evil to save our boss. At that moment, Hemmer wanted to speak up. Kukri, to be honest, I still don't understand what you're saying every time, but whether it's good or evil, as long as you get to fight, you guys don't care, right? And you're right, he was holding 2 criminals he just beat up. Ji-hun glanced over. It looks like you've cleaned up quite a bit, huh? Scarface yelled Han Ji-hun. Even though it looks like we're helping each other right now. You're just a target I haven't killed yet. Don't get any funny ideas about us being allies. Ji-hun was tired of talking. I thought you were going to say something else. You guys are still too naive, which made them angry. What? He walked and said, if someone gets in the way, you clean them up. If someone is useful, you use them. That's just how it is. Ji-hun tried to suppress the pain in his ribs. Even though he knew his stamina was draining due to his previous injuries, his current condition was really a mess, he muttered. But no matter what, facing 2 muscular guys charging at him, Ji-hun quickly drew his weapon. He swung it directly at their faces. With just this level, you think you can kill me? How pathetic. After the man he hit fell downstairs, Ji-hun quickly punched the other guy. Not stopping there, he relentlessly charged forward, punching each one. They were a bit hesitant. Stop them, don't let them in. Ji-hun once again charged inside. The smug guy who didn't know his place volunteered first. The bounty is mine. But he was later gently swiped on the cheek and knocked out. The others, seeing this, charged forward. Don't be ridiculous in your dreams, you bastard. But they were all sent to see the naked chickens by Ji-hun. Due to the overexertion, the sharp pain in his side returned. At that moment, new enemies charged in. You guys don't know when to quit, huh? Ji-hun was completely speechless looking at the current situation. More than 10 guys were charging at him. At the same time, a man was always watching the situation from a distance. He then returned to report. Those hyenas are following the security chief, that punching maniac. I thought if they met, they would naturally start fighting. But it seems their minds haven't completely turned into animals, huh? How long until they arrive? The man replied. Because there are quite a few inmates following the security chief. They'll probably be here in about 10 minutes. At that moment, the man stood up. That's more than enough time. Get ready now. Yes, sir. The carver gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, the security chief is truly a monster. Far beyond my imagination, and that bastard section chief Kang in the end. He was just going to use me as a pawn. Let's get off this sinking ship. But before he could leave, a formidable presence arrived. So, who is the captain of the ship you guys are planning to transfer to? Can you tell me? Seeing Ji-hun, the man's face fell. Not even a minute has passed. Nothing is going according to my plan. Ji-hun walked in. Who drew the picture in the central control room? The carver laughed gleefully. Oh, you saw that, huh? Do you know how boring it is to sit here doing nothing? I had to let the other guys know what the target looked like, so I just drew it. What do you think? Aren't I a great artist? Ji-hun continued to interrogate him. The guard in there was also your doing, huh? He scratched his head in confusion. A guard. He then realized and sneered, oh, I just ran out of paint. It's because I was so bored. Before he could finish, the carver was slapped in the face by him. His dentures went flying and scattered all over the floor. He cried out in pain. Not stopping there, Ji-hun stomped on the man's hand with all his might, making him squeal like a stuck pig. He said coldly, you don't need to worry about those things anymore, because I'm going to make sure you're never bored again. As Ji-hun spoke, he squeezed the man's arm. The carver cried out in pain. What? Why are you damn bastards just standing there? At his command, they all charged at Ji-hun. Despite the difficult situation, Ji-hun was not shaken at all. The horse-headed man charged with a chain. Die! He then swung it straight at him. Ji-hun asked lightly, you want to kill me? Then he dodged to the side. He then quickly grabbed his chain and swung it back. If you can then just try. The horse-headed man yelled. Wait a minute, the chain! You insolent bastard. He was played by him. And the chain was wrapped around his face. He screamed in frustration, damn it, I can't get it off. At that moment, another man took the opportunity to charge at Ji-hun. He used all his strength and swung the chain at his other side. Ji-hun quickly used the chain he had just acquired. He pulled the horse-headed man towards the other guy. When he saw his prey off balance, he spun around and used his elbow to knock the other guy away. You don't really think that just by changing your weapon and attacking you can beat me, right? Seeing his men fall one by one, the carver was shocked. Ji-hun glanced at him. Is that the note you received from Section Chief Kang? You didn't even try to hide it. Was it because you were careless or too arrogant? This is truly ridiculous. The man crawled over and blocked his way. "No, you can't look." Suddenly, Ji-hun said, "Thank you, because of you I can deal with Section Chief Kang in a much easier way." The carver was furious and cursed in his heart, "Damn it, everything I've built has crumbled because of one bastard. How hard did I have to struggle to get this far?" At that moment, Ji-hun approached. "Let's see what's inside." He then picked up the note to read it. The man's eyes were bloodshot with rage, and he glared at him. "I am." Ji-hun suddenly paused for a moment. Before he could get a good look, the carver lunged forward and snatched the note. "Do you think I'll be caught so easily?" He tried to stop him. "Wait a minute, stop!" But suddenly, from nowhere, a chain flew towards them. It wrapped tightly around Ji-hun's arm, making it impossible for him to catch up. The carver turned tail and ran. It turned out to be the annoying horse-headed man from before. "I finally got you. You sneaky bastard!" He then tightened his grip on the chain and pulled it towards him. At the same time, the other guy quickly used another chain. He tied up his body along with his left arm. The carver yelled, "Hold him as tight as you can, absolutely don't let him get close." Ji-hun was exasperated and said, "From the very beginning, your purpose wasn't to subdue me but to buy time, right? I'm impressed that you went to such lengths to deal with me, but it seems your calculations were wrong." He then pulled his right arm free. At this point, the carver had run quite a distance. "I have to get there quickly, I don't have much time left." When he saw another figure lurking in the distance, he called out, "Hey, you get over here right now." He pointed to himself. "Me." The man snapped. "Yes, you idiot. Who else is there besides you? There's a guard in here. You take the rest of the guys." Suddenly he lunged forward and grabbed his throat, stopping him in his tracks. "You bastard, what do you think you're doing?" It turned out to be Kang Min. He lifted the man up and growled, You dare to curse in front of me, you bastard?" The carver cursed with his eyes. This madman. Unexpectedly, sooner than expected, Ji-hun frantically charged out and threw the man directly at him. Kang Min was stunned. "What the hell, why is a guy flying at me?" Because he was thrown so suddenly and without any preparation, the carver fell downstairs. He looked down as he dead. At that moment, Ji-hun approached. "If I hadn't stopped you from killing him, you would have been dead to me too." Kang Min was confused and glanced at him. "Isn't he the mastermind? Why did you save him?" Because his purpose wasn't to kill me, Ji-hun assumed Section Chief Kang was probably planning to keep me busy here until he could find Jim Ho. "And there's this too." He held up the note in his hand. Kang Min couldn't help but be curious about what was inside. Currently, the situation downstairs was the carver was clutching his broken arm and struggling to escape. "I've worked so hard to get here." But he was unaware that other guards had quickly ambushed every corner. A male inmate with long silver hair was spotted. "Yes, I will deal with it immediately." The person on the other end said, "Wait a minute. Are you sure it's long silver hair?" He replied, "Yes, that's right." The person on the other end hesitated for a moment and then said, "Hold off on dealing with him. Follow him carefully, Roger." He angrily slammed his fist on the table. It turned out to be Kang Yoon Min. He was furious to the point of exploding. "Now it's Park Jun Hyun too. What the hell is going on here?" At the same time, somewhere else. It turned out to be nearby. Kang Min asked curiously, "You mean not only the madman in solitary confinement, but also Jim Ho and the person you're looking for are here too, right?" Ji-hun replied, "That's right." The guy in solitary was torn between Section Chief Kang's offer and what was written on this paper, and he chose to follow the offer on the paper. "It's almost their meeting time, so we can just check it out ourselves." He was curious. "Hey, if even the hyenas are going crazy over it, what the hell is that paradise place? I'm most curious about that." Suddenly, Ji-hun gestured for him to be quiet. "He's here." He saw the carver's figure approaching. He was unaware that Ji-hun and Kang Min were ambushing him here. Another guard, seeing this, gave up on the carver and ran away. Ji-hun kept watching, his eyes glued to him. The scene shifts to Min Jun's side. He snapped, "Damn it, I can't believe there are so many uninvited guests."